Hey, hey, hey. Sorry, I am late. Yeah. Come on in. Let's spin the bin. Oh my goodness. Come on in. Come on in. I hope you charged up. We got some catching up to do. Well, I don't know about catching up. It's something every day, all day, and it's just not enough time in a day. However, Sasha Riley. Name is Ooby Ooby. It's getting out. So bravo to the people who have been grabbing on to Sasha Riley and the remarkable story that they said has been, he's been trying to get out for about 10 years now. And it has grown feet and it is walking, baby. I heard one guy reaching out to Midas. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee. I hope they grab a hold to it. Uh, you know. But before I go further in, I caught her earlier and she said some very interesting things. And I'm like, oh my God. So they've been knowing. They have been knowing about this. And then I heard another guy who said, well, Auntie Fee, why hasn't Donald Trump not attempted to sue him or hit him with some form of, defamation or, something like that. You know how DT, how Dirty Diaper do. We know how he do. He would hit you with, defamation. How dare you? Hey, Janet. And he hasn't. He hasn't. And I'm, in my right mind, I'm saying, why is he going so hard to Minnesota? I mean, do Diaper think he in Minnesota or something, or Minneapolis or whatever? So I heard today also that he was possibly still in Canada. I don't know. But what I do know is, oh girl has advised us or reminded some that his old foster daddy, William Kyle, he in the Epstein files. He was mentioned by that Gouffre girl, Virginia. I said, dirty damn dogs. So Donald Trump know exactly who got his ass not able to hold his bowels. He know exactly what's going on. All of them do. Kyle, and it's a possibility that Kyle may be an informant. So before I dive off into it, baby, I said, oh, okay, I see what they doing. You remember he said his dad was a pilot. Yeah, I remember. I didn't know. I didn't hear him say that Virginia Gouffre had him in her deposition. I didn't remember hearing him say Virginia or made mention of a Virginia. And I didn't remember hearing nobody say until I heard her say it. And then I reached out and did a little more research and saw, I knew he was a pilot for Trump. I said that, yeah. But I'm talking about Virginia. Mentioned him. I said, oh, wow. I said, oh, wow.
I want to talk again about the Sasha Riley thing just for a minute. Now, I haven't prepared this in any kind of special way to
Go
present
on,
it to
girl.
you. These are just some of my thoughts and some of the things that I've noticed, okay?
Okay.
Now, firstly, let me get this out of the way. I've noticed a whole lot of people being very upset with certain journalists for not covering this story, and I'm going to need you to stop being upset about that.
I ain't worried
We
about
have
that.
not verified this story. And if a journalist gets on here and starts reporting a story to you that is unverified, well, that will diminish their integrity in a future day to tell you the truth and bring you the proof. I'm not a journalist.
Let's go. Me either.
I'm not a journalist. I'm a commentator. Yes, the things that I tell you are true. I try to make sure of that before I tell them to you.
Oh, excuse me.
But I'm not a journalist. So I have the freedom to get on here and bring stories to you that have not
Get your
yet
water
been
in.
verified. Just to let you know what people are talking about in the everywheres.
Let's say that, girl. Let's go.
Right? So
Okay.
stop being mad at journalists.
Hey,
Until this
Cynthia.
story is 100% verified, they're not going to report on it.
Well,
Some people may
but
think
hold
they're
up.
out there today because of
But
some things that
hold
happen.
up. Now they do report what they want to that has not been verified. Now let's be clear. They report a whole bunch of stuff that haven't been verified and have to back it up, and sometimes they just don't even back it up. They just pick and choose. See. Yeah, they put out narratives all the time that's not true. Just like they put out the narrative that Trump said that he was going to give us some of our money back, that $2,000, and now he trying to act like he don't remember saying that. So either he lied or y'all lied. Now, I know he lying. I'm just saying. Did nobody verify it before they put that out? They just took him at his word, right? And now he trying to act like he never said it. So what's the difference? Yeah, I didn't think so. Carry on. I'm just saying, for the people who, because I saw somebody tell me, don't be repeating that. No, I'm going to. It has connected dots for me. And if it has connected dots for me that you don't know are dots, that ain't my problem. That's how I look at it. Yeah, so don't try to regulate me when don't nobody regulate y'all for spreading them fake ass narratives. Okay? So a warning, before you come up in my comment section, I'm going to ask you, have you verified it? Yeah.
Have been verified. And let's talk about what has been verified, okay? We know that in those files, what we have been able to see, that Sasha Riley's adoptive father, the one that sold him into this industry, he is listed in those files as a witness, a possible informant. That part we know to be true.
Oh, wow. Let's go.
What else do we know to be true today? We know that these people are okay with putting their hands on boys. And we also know that the same ones that are okay with putting their hands on boys have an affinity for wrestling.
Let's
Let
go.
me explain. You see, I've seen a whole lot of people, when they heard the Sasha Riley story, come out to say, we knew it had to do with boys. We just didn't have any proof that it had to do with boys. We knew this is why they were trying to cover it up. I want to remind you of who Daddy Dummy Pants appointed to be the head of the Department
Daddy Dummy
of Education
Pants.
of our children's education in this nation. Who got that job? Miss McMahon. Miss McMahon. From Wrestling Land. What is Miss McMahon and her husband still in trouble for this day? The case has not been closed. It has not been settled. It's been put on hold. What does that case involve?
Wrestling.
The abuse of young boys. The ring boys. For years and years and years, Miss McMahon and her husband turned a blind eye to the abuse that was happening to boys within their little wrestling company.
Isn't that crazy?
Go look into her husband, who she's still married to. They didn't get a divorce. They got a somewhat separation and are living in different places. And when, oh when, did they get their little separation? right before she was to be nominated to head up the Department of Education in this nation. Even after her husband got in trouble for abusing women, assault, rape, trafficking, all sorts of things.
Wow.
She still stayed married
She
to
still
him.
stayed with him.
Didn't leave him, didn't separate from him, didn't move into another home. No, she didn't bother doing any of that shit until it was time for her to be the head of the Department of Education. So we already
Is that her
know.
payout?
We already know, baby,
Baby.
that these people that are running our country and are in charge of our fucking children's education are absolutely okay with boys being touched in an obscene kind of way. I also want to talk about Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan was one of the people that was named by Sasha Riley. What do we know about the history of Jim Jordan? What was he heavily involved in? Boys wrestling. Boys wrestling. And we also know today that Jim Jordan has very strange ties to the Wexner guy. The Lex Wexner guy? You know, Jeffrey's like other best buddy besides Orange Daddy. The one that propped him up and funded his organization, hun.
Yeah, propped his ass up.
The guy from Victoria's Secrets and all that. What would a high school wrestling guy have in common with somebody on the other side of the country who deals in lingerie, who has ties to
What happened?
the fucking island guy?
Oh, okay. That's fine. Why you keep stopping?
What in the fuck
Oh,
could Jim Jordan possibly be doing having ties to Mr. Wexner? Becca Day, baby, I'm going to tag you in this video because I know you have done so many deep dives and you know so much about the island guy and the Wexners too that I'm pretty sure you could connect some of these dots for us today, boo. Right?
please hit the like button.
So we've got a man who's fascinated and built a career around wrestling with young boys.
Wow. Yeah.
We've got actual WW fucking EF, whatever the fuck it is, people who have been in trouble for turning a blind eye when other guys were touching children inside their rings. We've got the Orange Man who has decades and decades and decades of a history of putting his hands where the fuck they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Ooh, honey. Yes, there is a pedo cabal running the United States. But it's not who they told you, boo. It's not the Democrats you see. And by the way, why the fuck did Bill and Hillary refuse to go up there and speak in front of Congress, boo? You see, the Red Hat crew wants you to believe it's because of their apostle proclivities, but what they're not telling you on your TV is that Bill and Hillary refused to testify unless it was publicly. They have no problem of going up to the Hill today and saying what they need to say, but they want the cameras up and running so they can put their testimony on full display, not behind a closed door today. That almost sounds like they're not guilty. And I'm not saying they're not guilty, dear, because if you know anything about me, I don't give a fuck about Bill or Hillary. But I'm just saying, isn't it strange how when they wanted to testify publicly, for some reason the GOP was like, no. We need to do this behind closed doors. Just a few things to consider today. Just a few things to consider today. Okay? Yeah, we already know they've been playing with young boys. You can look into the case, I believe, in Massachusetts. It's been put on hold. Oh, and there was another case
You
that
know,
had to
when
do
she was
with
talking
those
today,
two.
when I
The
heard her
McMahons,
say
boo, that
this,
mysteriously just was dropped.
you know, now I'm thinking, I really am thinking that the Menendez brothers probably got a bad deal, that they parents may have been in some of this same type shit. I mean, they said it. They was rich, you know. Didn't nobody believe them. You know, well-known dad. But with all that is unfolding and resurfacing and coming out of the woodworks now, I am really beginning to think that those boys were sexually assaulted by their daddy. And their mama knew it. It's become beginning to become a repeat pattern that either we just didn't know was going on like that, or the some who did know just looked over it because they were a part of the program. Thank you, Janet. Thank you. Or, you know, had some political interests, you know, wealthy men club, or, you know, whatever. But there, you know, I'm not going to forget about the Menendez brothers, because this has a ring in my ear of familiarity. I'm just sorry. You know, and if, Lord in heaven knows, if I would have been in this type of position, ain't no telling what they were abused. Yes, by the daddy who was molesting them. Yeah, this sounds familiar. Let's go. Let me let her finish. Come on, baby.
Out of the blue, right after the orange dude was inaugurated, boo. Isn't that funny? Turns out if you're close to Orange Daddy and you've put your hands on children in a past date, well, that case will just fucking...
Yeah, they are still locked up. I think they kind of got a partial pardon or something. And then something else happened. But I'm going to do more research on them, because this same type of stuff that is unfolding now was brought up then. And now that it's getting feet and it's growing, I can't remember what halted them. Menendez brother. I will do some more research on it, because I thought about it when I heard their story. They did say their daddy. Yeah, the daddy abused them. The daddy abused them viciously. Yeah. Yeah. And when I research, please don't let me find out that they have any type of ties to these political people.
You don't have to believe the things that Sasha Riley says today, because there is so much proof right in your fucking face. Well.
It sure is. That has been overlooked. Absolutely overlooked. Overlooked. And I'm not saying the answer is to take out your parents. No, I'm not saying that. But people didn't believe it. People believed that they was just spoiled kids who wanted the parents' insurance money or life insurance. What was that? This girl here says something about waking up in a lab. Let me hear this.
I'm going to need someone to explain to me why no one ever searched Epstein's laboratory. So out in the middle of the New Mexico desert sits Zorro Ranch, 8,000 acres, and basically its own secret little country. Epstein bought it back in 1993, and this wasn't just some cozy little hideaway. This place has a 33,000 square foot mansion, a private airstrip, and zero neighbors. It's total isolation. The closest town has less than 100 people living in it. Victims like Virginia Giuffre and Annie Farmer say that abuse happened here dating back to the 90s, with girls flown in, groomed, and exploited. And Epstein even talked to scientists about turning it into a baby ranch where he would impregnate up to 20 women with his DNA at a time as part of his sick eugenics fantasy. He wanted to seed humanity with himself. That's not billionaire playboy type behavior, that's straight up a God complex. And the part that no one's mentioning is that people familiar with the ranch, including survivors, describe huge basement rooms packed with computers and electronics. I'm not talking normal utility space. We're talking mechanical rooms bigger than houses. And at Epstein's properties, of course, were cameras everywhere, hidden. Survivors have said that he liked knowing everything and watching everything. And these rooms are believed to be where footage and data were stored, likely a surveillance and blackmail hub. But the FBI never raided Zorro Ranch. So if there was any evidence in these server rooms, someone surely cleaned it out by now. Or heck, maybe it's still sitting there, who knows? When Epstein was arrested in 2019, agents rushed into his New York City townhouse, into his Palm Beach home, later onto his private island, and they grabbed everything, hard drives, photos, the works. But Zorro Ranch, untouched. Not a single search warrant. New Mexico looked into abuse accusations and passed them on to the feds, who apparently just moved on. Then Epstein dies, and so does any active investigation.
Wow.
If something was buried in that desert, I guess it's going to stay buried.
Thank you.
Then in 2020,
that needs to be revisited. For real. With new evidence, with everything that's coming out. What happened? This was stuff be about to get good. The devil started playing. You can't stop the rain. You can't stop the rain. I'll just go on to something else. But you can't stop the rain. You can't stop the rain. I'll tell you what I got over here, but let me get on over here. You can't stop the rain. Mm-mm.
Hi to the people that are in my live. I didn't really... The
Hold on. I should have rebooted here. There we go.
All right. All right, here we go. My name is Ronan. I am going to discuss the Sasha Riley and Jack Smith connection. What if Jack Smith,
yes,
the lead prosecutor,
let's go,
for decades, who was not only in charge of bringing two of the major cases against the Tangerine Swap
Jack Smith,
but
yeah, he's disgusting,
hindered in prosecuting that, not because he didn't have a case, but because he didn't want to prosecute a seated president. There was just no way to make that happen. What if that prosecutor was to look into the Sasha Riley case? The allegations seem pretty
that would be
solid,
amazing.
And even if they aren't completely solid, a lead prosecutor like him should be able to rifle through and break it apart or solidify the allegations. What we do know, without a doubt, is that we are watching a main person bring forward allegations against the Tangerine Swap Waffle, or Trump is
the Tangerine. Hold on, I'm gonna rewind it.
Yet no defamation was to look into the Sasha Riley case. The allegations seem pretty solid, and even if they aren't completely solid, a lead prosecutor like him should be able to rifle through and break it apart or solidify the allegations. What we do know, without a doubt, is that we are watching a main person bring forward allegations against the Tangerine Twat Waffle, or Trump as some of you call him, and yet no defamation lawsuits have been brought against Sasha Riley.
Thanks.
Why is that? Why is it that the Tangerine Twat Waffle, who has sued everybody in life for saying anything negative about him, refuses to sue Sasha Riley? Discovery. That simple as that. So how do we get around that? Perhaps maybe a key investigator, somebody with the prosecutional chops to be able to investigate, cultivate a case, and if there's reason for a case, bring one forward. I don't know about the statute of limitations on Sasha Riley's case. I'm not as versed on that as possible. But what I do know is that uncovering a conspiracy, the denial of somebody trying to hide a case, should technically extend the life of that. You know, the same way as that if somebody leaves the country for X amount of time, there's called tolling, which basically means that the statute of limitations on a crime is extended based on how long you've been out of that country. So if somebody was to commit a crime and do something vile that had a statute of limitations on it, but then you left the country for 5 years.
Yeah, trying to evade the law.
Until you got back, that statute of limitations wouldn't continue to turn on because you were out of the country and away from prosecution. You might have been a loop.
Hey, y'all, I need for y'all to double tap the face of your screen. Hit the 3 dots at the top right. Support the platform. I have goals set today. I have one. Janet has been the first person to help me reach my goal. I have 9 more. I have room for 9 more to help me reach my goal. But I need for y'all to hit those 3 dots at the top right corner and hit the like button. Thank you.
Jack Smith being such a key investigator.
We like Jack Smith.
And ability to search through years of crap, which he did when it came to the January 6th case, as well as the improper handling of federal documents at Mar-a-Lago. Jack Smith had the Tangerine Twat Waffle on the ropes. He could have convicted him. The private testimony that he did behind closed doors, which, by the way, is going to be done again in the public, showed without a doubt that Jack Smith had the ability to bring charges and a conviction against Donald Trump. Now, if we took that master, that ability, and researched the Sasha Riley investigation or just the Epstein files, what would we find then? Because you can't keep stacking up allegations without it actually starting to actually accumulate into something. Think about this. If one person says something, that's fine. But let's just use Bill Cosby as an example. When people started to come forward against Bill Cosby, in the beginning, people didn't believe it. They literally just couldn't believe it. They were like, no, not Bill Cosby. No, not that guy. He's like America's dad. But as it stacked up, and then he had 60 people that came against him, even people that were like so for him was like, I would have supported you with 1 or 2, but 60? Now we've got Lake Michigan, which we know all about that.
Right.
Then on top of Lake Michigan, you've got other allegations of, settlements in New York City with, young boys against the Trump, which we don't know is true or not. Then we've got the Epstein files where he actually sent email to himself.
Thank you, Mrs.
To
Tom.
protect against,
Thank
any
you for
kind of
all
issues
you do. Thank
of a
you.
list of all of his clients. So we've got that as well. Then on top of that, you've got Sasha Riley. Now, just in case you weren't aware, maybe you haven't watched or heard anything, and I will say trigger warning now. The Sasha Riley case is not something that you want to listen to if you are a person that is affected by the world around you. I mean, if you watch like a movie and you cry, don't watch or listen to the Sasha Riley case, because the things he talks about is disturbing. The fact that there was a supposed tent spike that went up a certain individual's rectum, tearing his rectum, and he had to be airlifted off of the island that everybody knows about, literally makes you realize, now how can we verify that? Well, there has to be
Hi,
flight records,
Karen.
there
Hi,
has to be
hi,
EMS
Willie
records, there
Dean.
has to be some type of track of an emergency room exit. I mean, he was on an island. He had to be airlifted somewhere. This is something that could be investigated and approved. Can you speak Arabic? No, I'm sorry, I can't. Hi to the people that are in my live. I didn't really expect anybody. I'm kind of new to this, so thank you and welcome. And I hope that someday you'll subscribe to my page and cause the issue. How do you prosecute a seated president? Now, putting that aside, he could go and investigate the Riley case. He could investigate all the other allegations within that. And if there is a continuing conspiracy to do harm, if that trafficking ring is still continuing to go on, then there is no statute of limitations. There is no, oh, well, it's too old in the past. And I'm just trying to figure out, how bad do the cases have to be in the Epstein files if we've only gotten 1% of it and we're already flabbergasted and just shocked what's going on? Because I'll tell you, dogfighting, puppies being unalived, kids being unalived. I mean, when you're talking about sexual allegations and this, that, and the other, that's one thing. But Sasha Riley's talking about children being, offed.
Yep.
That's disturbing. That is
Absolutely
shocking to hear that. And if 20% of his story is true, that's still 20% more than any president should ever been involved in, ever. And I know some of the supporters in this are going to come at me and go, oh, but you wouldn't want to prosecute Bill Clinton. Yes, I would.
Yeah.
I would prosecute anybody. So we're clear, my dad's been dead for 15 years, but if my dad was in the Epstein files, prosecute him. Because there's one moral code that we should all agree upon. You don't mess with kids, you don't mess with dogs or animals, and you don't mess with women. And this guy has done all of it, apparently. And the fact that, again, Sasha Riley not only came out just recently with this story, but he's been publicly posting this on his social media for years.
Yeah.
He took a lie detector test years ago and offered to take one again now to prove that he is not lying. That should give you cause, because anybody that's willing to get hooked up to the box and is not in fear of losing or failing the test, that should tell you something. And this guy's willing to do it. He's willing to relive all of that trauma just to make sure that justice be had. So why not have Jack Smith attack him? Why not have Jack Smith investigate all of this and see what it is? Even if Jack Smith does it as a private citizen, wouldn't it be amazing to see what he could find out? Because clearly Jack Smith has the prosecutorial and investigative chops to do it. Whether or not he will or not, who knows? What I do know,
he's a
is that
serial
we're
iller.
watching a president.
Y'all president
who's
is a
so
serial
scared of these
apist and
files being
iller.
released that he's waging war on the people of this country. We have agents in the streets right now doubling down on brutality against U.S. citizens. This isn't against immigration. This isn't against, the undocumented, worst of the worst. You're talking about U.S. citizens. Renee Good was a U.S. citizen. She was like cornbread, white as white, Wonder Bread white. I mean, white toast or white rice isn't as white as she was, yet she was gunned down, 3 bullets to the brain pan. And what did this administration do? Instead of owning it, going, yeah, this is a mistake, we need to deal with it, they doubled down, called her domestic terrorist, and then on top of that, they told the Civil Rights Division of, just so we're clear, the Department of Justice, do not investigate this case. Do not investigate Jonathan Ross for unaliving Renee Good. Why, if this administration was all about transparency and truth and justice and draining the swamp, why wouldn't you want to investigate it and just let the chips fall where they may? I don't get that. So again, Jack Smith to me would be an amazing idea, because Jack Smith watching this, going after this, and trying to prove it one way or the other would be amazing. Now, for some of you that weren't a part of this when I first started, I'm going to come back to something. Sasha Riley is brought some allegations that will make your skin crawl. I'm telling you right now, I'll bet you $1. You will crawl when you listen to some of the things this guy says. And it's so out of left field type of not creative, but like just stories that you couldn't imagine, that I can't imagine someone making this up. But it is what it is. What I do know is that the Tangerine Twat Waffle, and that's what I call Trump all day long in case some of you don't know, he has sued over 4,000 people over the span of 35 years for all types of wrongdoings or supposed wrongdoings or defamation and all kinds of stuff. He's suing 3 people right now for defamation. Not CBS, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and I believe there's another one, and I'm drawing a blank right
But
now.
hadn't said nothing about Sasha.
And those people just printed a card that he supposedly wrote to Jeffrey Epstein, and they put it in the newspaper, not alleging anything, just taking his own handwriting, his own signature, putting it in the newspaper, and he's suing them for $15 billion. Yet Sasha Riley is talking about the fact that he stuck a spike up the Tangerine Twat Waffle's ass that ripped his anus, and he had to be airlifted off the island, and he's not suing him? Could you imagine taking that type of...
But he is looking for him. You can best believe he got these ICE people out here looking for Sasha. You can best believe that. And his dad is in the his foster parent that was a part of this organized crime, one of the pilots. Oh, hell yeah. He looking for him for damn sure. He just don't want to say his name. He just don't want to say. So right now, I can say that if there's anybody that Donald Trump and his partners are afraid of, it's Sasha. Understand? Because none of them have mentioned his name. Not one. What's that song? No, not one.
of comment or being alleged to have done something like that, and you're not suing?
No.
And what about the allegations of the fact that he owns a piece of swampland? Anything, just taking his own handwriting, his own signature,
double tap, hit the 3 dots,
and he's suing them for $15 billion. Yet Sasha Riley is talking about the fact that he stuck a spike up the Tangerine Twat Waffle's ass that ripped his anus, and he had to be airlifted off the island, and he's not suing him? Could you imagine taking that type of comment or being alleged to have done something like that, and you're not suing?
I ain't
and
said a word.
What about the allegations of the fact that he owns a piece of swampland up near Sebring, and that possibly that could be a dump site? That's unheard of as well. In fact, the people that used to own it refused to comment or talk to anybody about it when they found that island back in 2017. But the truth, as we may all seem to be out of grasp with, because the truth seems to be there but never really perceived, is that if 20% of what Sasha Riley says is true, the Tangerine Twat Waffle has to be removed from office. He's abused power. He's abused children. He's abused animals. Lake Michigan, another case of him supposedly having a child unalived and dumped into Lake Michigan. I mean, at what point does MAGA say, okay, you've gone too far? I mean, we've all had situations where we've had buddies that have done something or friends that have done something, and you're like, man, you really shouldn't have done that. And you got a kind of a moral complex with it, but you stick tough with that person because, hey, that's your bro or your friend and you like them. But at some point, there's a line that you're like, yeah, I got to go. And I'm wondering, just when is that going to be for MAGA and Trump? When is MAGA going to watch Trump and go, that's too far? Because right now, I've watched MAGA women actually come on to TikTok and other platforms and try to complain or argue about the age of consent. Well, they were 14. They know what they want. 14, they know what they want. You know, I mean, I don't get that, but okay. My 12-year-old can't even figure out how to, clean up a mess when it hits the floor. But a 14-year-old is ready to rock and roll and take one in the tailpipe.
He was
I don't
10.
think that's exactly true, okay?
Thank you
But
for
anyway,
the
putting
makeup
that aside,
brushes.
the allegations are stacking up. I think Jack Smith, if they can't actually use the Sasha Riley stuff, Jack Smith should go after the wire transfers. Because everybody knows, regardless of the mouth moving, the money talks. The money is where everything's at. If you want to watch that, that's what I suggest. I suggest the money transfers between Epstein and whoever will show you exactly what's going on. The transfers of power, the transfers of money, what the service is for, those type of things. And by the way, hi everybody that's in here. I really appreciate the fact that you're coming into my live. This is my first live on this channel, so
Awesome.
Thank you very much. I hope you like it, share it. I don't even know what to do with lives, but hey, whatever you can do, I appreciate it. Anyway,
I don't see
the
his name
reality
right
of
now
it is
to give him a
this.
shout out. I'm sorry.
We are watching the Tangerine Twat Waffle tear the country
Tangerine
apart because
Twat
he's definitely
Waffle.
afraid of going to prison. And the fact that he's not suing Sasha Riley,
Says a lot.
I'm sorry, I was reading this. The fact that Sasha Riley has come out with some horrific allegations against Donald Trump, Lindsey Graham, Clarence Thomas. I mean, key people. I mean, people that, and yet nobody's suing him for defamation because they're afraid of the evidentiary hearing or the discovery package that would have to come forward. They're not even trying to issue him a gag order. And I know that sounds inappropriate. It wasn't meant to be. But the truth of the matter is, and thank you very much for the compliment. The truth of the matter is that everybody that's said anything about Trump, he's sued. Here's another fun fact you may or may not know. Donald Trump has been alleged by 27 separate women that he has sexually abused them. Now, my question would be, why didn't he sue any of those 27 women for alleging that he did anything wrong? Because here's the thing, defamation is a big deal. Tom Cruise has sued tons of people for defamation. Donald Trump has sued over 4,000 people. He's sued almost every single newscast or news broadcasting station that's said anything about anything. I mean, he's suing for $15 billion, again, like I already said, for printing a birthday card that Donald Trump clearly signed and put it in the newspaper, and he's suing for that because he says it's not real. But yet, he hasn't said anything to Sasha Riley. He's ignored it completely. He's like almost acting like a Pakistani cab driver who just cut somebody off, and you're screaming at him at the stoplight. He's like, "I don't see you. Nope, I don't see you." That's exactly what Trump's doing with Sasha Riley. He's ignoring
I don't see
him and
you.
hoping he'll just go away, just like the rest of the women. And here's another fact. Why is it that when the 200 women that were victims went to Washington, D.C., he never acknowledged them? He has not once spoken up and said, I'm sorry, I have sympathy for what you went through. I can't imagine what you must be feeling right now. None of that. He has not shown an ounce of sympathy or consideration for any of those people. He has called the Epstein files a Democratic hoax. He has said on public record, Epstein only hung out with Democrats. Well, guess what? Trump was only a Democrat
At
his
that
whole
time, I
life.
guess.
He only became a Republican when he went into office because he knew he could sway the Republicans a whole lot better than he can the Democrats. He knew that the Democrats
Yeah, he used to.
didn't
No,
like
that's
him.
true. He used to be a Democrat.
What? Yeah, but see, all right, so someone just said, because why would he waste his time, one stupid woman that wanted attention? One. What about 27? Now, here's the thing. You made that comment, and by the way, for everybody that knows, I want MAGA here. I want opposition. I want to hear a philosophical argument to put me in my place or not. I want to have a debate because that's what this is all about. That's why I do the live, because I want to actually learn from this. So let's address this comment. Why would he waste his time on one? But there's been 27. And here's the deal. Washington Post posted that birthday card. There was no real allegation. I mean, it was creepy and it was kind of weird. It was kind of like, you felt like you saw your parents like kissing. You're like, ooh, like kind of grossed out. You know what I mean? But that's nothing compared to Sasha Riley. And Sasha Riley, by the way, is a man. In case you didn't know, maybe you haven't watched out. But Sasha Riley is actually a guy. It's
Yep.
Sasha William Riley, and he's a military vet.
Right there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Two
And he ain't
2.7
running.
billion.
Well-
I don't know. 27 is still a lot of women. So let me ask you a question. Here's a really good question for you guys that are making that. How many women have to come forward before you'll start to consider that Trump is guilty? Because I already said before, Bill Cosby, 60 people. Now in the beginning, everybody's like, no, not Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's awesome. I'm sure insiders knew, but the general public, what about Harvey Weinstein? The general public had no idea. And he had, what, like 100 people come forward? R. Kelly, 160? So my question to you is that how many people have to come forward before you'll actually start to believe the Tangerine Twat Waffle is guilty? How many? Please, I'd love to hear it.
People just in denial about somebody else's abuse. That's the crazy shit to me.
Okay, first off, he didn't transition into a woman. And I guess you haven't taken the time to research Sasha Riley. He didn't convert to a woman. That's just his name. Okay, it's Sasha William Riley. Okay,
And that's the name.
So
Hold on.
reality,
That's the name that his foster parents gave him. I think. No, they added that William. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
is that he's not transgender, he's
Nope.
not gay. Oh, well, he might be gay, I don't know. But
Now
this isn't
he
a guy
is.
that converted into a woman, and you see the thing. And you can go check his social media, the whole
Hey,
thing. And
room
not only
shaker.
that, but just so
Now
you know,
he
took a
possibly
polygraph
is.
test. He's actually taken a polygraph test and offered to take another polygraph test. He's asked to speak in front of Congress. Does that sound like somebody that's not willing to put himself under the lab light and be scrutinized? You're absolutely welcome for sharing the details. Words are not enough as evidence. That's a very good point. But when you take and look, apparently Sasha Riley has incidences
called?
correlating through his life that shows like child and protective services.
His daddy is in the Epstein files. Virginia Giuffre brought him up. He was the pilot. He was one of the pilots. So his foster parent was fostering kids to pimp them. Period.
Services being called out because of things that appears to be, wrong with him, like he'd been abused or this, that, and the other. There's that case where Donald Trump supposedly had a tent spike shoved up his rectum. He was emergency airlifted off the island and taken to emergency room. These are things that could be investigated and proven to be true. And like you said, words aren't enough evidence. But a lie detector test, that is evidence.
Yeah, but he's
It
shown
might
some
not be good for
documents
a criminal
now.
case, but
He's
it
shown
certainly
some
would be for a civil
documents.
one. It certainly would be to at least see whether or not the guy's lying or not. And if it comes back swayed, you go that. But if it comes back 100%, and then you know what you do? You don't just do one, do three. Get three different people. Even get a Republican. Just hammer the hell out of it. Get the FBI to do it, the CIA, and the
They don't want to.
NIS. Have them do it. And then see if it's true or not. Thank you. That would be useful. Thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Again, I hope that if you're watching this and you like it, you'll hit subscribe. This is my very first live I've
He
ever
has
done
9
one on
names,
YouTube on this
baby.
channel. And I'm interested to do more. And I'm interested in hearing people's conversations and what they have to think. And like I said, Jack Smith going after and investigating it. And here's the thing.
That would be
Jack
amazing.
Smith is impartial. He wants to bring charges against Trump. So if Jack Smith goes after Sasha Riley's case and he just beats the shit out of it and is able to go, son of a bitch, this is all true. What do you say then?
Now, I don't know if this picture, hold on, that I have sent to myself is Epstein with his foster parents. I hope I'm not sitting on that. I hope I'm not. Hold on. Now, what did he say?
Keep in mind, they didn't know how this was going to land, but now that it's really starting to pick up, they are going to provide more bunch of stuff. This is what we've been looking for. Sasha said today, we still have more information to release first, then we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. You have to consider how this rolled out. Sasha's been saying this story for about 10 years and no one was listening. And
So, Sasha, you
this
got
is what
some
we've been
more
looking
coming
for.
out?
Sasha said today, we still have more information to release first, then we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. You have to consider how this
Oh,
rolled out.
Lord. Oh,
This is what
Lord.
we've been looking for. Sasha said today,
We finna have
we
another
still have more
bombing.
information to release first, then we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. You have to consider how this rolled out. Sasha's been saying this story for about 10 years and no one was listening. And then you have Lisa, this unknown blogger writer, who said, I will listen. So they recorded these tapes and uploaded them raw without any editing and did not know how it was going to land. Sasha even said themselves very early on, I hope this is the time people start listening. So just over the course of this week, it is starting to steamroll. Of course, there's a lot of skepticism. I don't think that's unreasonable at all, but they're going to release more materials. The original tapes were recorded in July, right? And then they were released in November. In between that time, Sasha got out of the country and met up with Lisa in Canada. I don't know if they're together, but I do know that Sasha's in Canada. They collected the necessary documents, which are alluded to in the 6th tape. They're talking about collecting hospital records and county records and things like that. And those documents are being dispersed to trusted officials elsewhere, just in case anything happens.
Ooh, it's
there
gonna
are
get
additional
good.
copies. But these things are going to start to roll out in a very calculated phase. And I know it sounds really conspiratorial, but you have to keep in mind, they didn't know how this was going to land. But now that it's really starting to pick up, they are going to provide more evidence. And there's been a lot of people doing really great deep dives on this and finding things out on their own. What we can do to keep supporting this is just keep talking about it, keep it in the algorithm, keep it in the SEO. So just over the course of this week,
Let
it
me
is
hit my
starting to
refresh.
steamroll.
Because I think I had something that I saw that I didn't realize I had, and I tried to bring it up to the front. You are currently offline. How am I currently offline? Ugh. Anyway.
As early as tomorrow, but I'll take a little road trip and see if I can't get that paperwork.
So,
I have an idea.
yeah.
All right, so in 1989, I was
Let me wait till that comes
housed
back.
at a behavioral hospital in Alabama. It's called Charterwoods Memorial Hospital or mental.
So, Miss Tom, yesterday when you asked why would he say that incident be in his medical records, I'm assuming, I don't know, I haven't fully listened to this, that when he was in a medical facility, that all of that came up as to why he acting out, you know, what's wrong with him mentally. I'm sure that probably came out, but let's hear what he got. Why I get my system back up.
Mental hospital, I'm not sure.
Y'all double tap the 3 dots at the top right corner.
To another agency, whether it's like, regarding national security or whatever, so.
So,
I have an idea.
Yeah.
All right, so in 1989, I was housed at a behavioral hospital in Alabama. It's called Charter Woods Memorial Hospital or Mental Hospital. I'm not sure. Um, my parents had accused me of being on drugs, so I wasn't. Not that I, not at that point in my life. I have experimented with drugs since, but not as a child, not willingly as a child. So anyway, that would have been the first time that I talked about Donald Trump specifically by name.
Okay.
So I'm going to go there as soon as I get my bike back. It could be as early as tomorrow, but I'll take a little road trip and see if I can't get that paperwork. The hospital itself has been closed down, but as I understand it, all medical records have to be stored in the medical archives. And I forget which city that's in, but Alabama's not very far from me. So I'll take a trip down there and see if I can retrieve those, because that, in my mind, is the best connection that I have, because I mentioned him by name. That was the first time that I did that.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So that's great. Now, I think
He mentioned him by
with
name.
the information, if you can't get from them, I know you can file a Freedom of Information Act request. My only concern was that we really look at, if you suddenly start filing all these requests on police reports and CPS reports, would that flag anything? And I don't want to talk to any journalists to get them to flag. I was hoping police requests, and I'm even looking carefully at, how could I look at requesting, or can I do so somehow anonymously? So that's what I'm trying to sort of sort a bit there. What else? Now that would be extremely helpful information, obviously, those files. The other one that you can request that would help would be anything from your interview at Fort Carson.
okay.
Are you comfortable to?
Well, my biggest thing there would just be, I would just, the military isn't like, if I were to contact Fort Carson now, they would have no idea what I'm talking about. I would have to track down those people that were involved in that investigation, and that is possible. I'm still in contact with some of the people that I served with from that time, so I would just need to reach out to some people and see if that's a possibility.
Hold on. Let me bring this over here while I reboot my internet. Hold on.
Probably communicate with them, see what they remember.
So my suggestion is that before you reach out to your old Army buddies, that you get the paperwork from the hospital first, because that's a very important starting point, just in case you reaching out to your buddies would in any way trigger anything. And you can travel there safely to and from and so on. Okay.
Can y'all still hear it
So, yeah,
over
let's
here?
get the paperwork from the hospital, and then we can look at reaching out to the Army buddies afterwards. And then whatever of those copies, we'll just figure out how you can just photograph them, and I think with Proton Mail, there's something called Proton Drive, and there's like a certain amount of gigabytes of storage. In fact, I just uploaded one of the audio recordings in Proton.
Could y'all still hear that? I'm trying to.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. Now, I think with the information, talk about that in a minute, because I think there's some optics there. We want to be careful how we're asking those questions, right? In terms of any flags. So, but then the officer offered to store the audio securely, and B, the officer offered to listen to the audio while, I said, and what about when we get some of these documents, what can the officer look at? And the officer said then the officer can write up a longer police report with something that sort of corroborates, and by corroborate, I'm not talking about like the films or anything, just like some starting point in terms of an investigation to refer to their intel group and then to another agency, whether it's like, regarding national security or whatever. So
I have an idea.
Yeah.
All right, so in 1989, I was housed at a behavioral hospital in Alabama. It's called Charter Woods Memorial Hospital or Mental Hospital. I'm not sure. Um, my parents had accused me of being on drugs, so I wasn't. Not at that point in my life. I have experimented with drugs since, but not as a child, not willingly as a child. So anyway, that would have been the first time that I talked about Donald Trump specifically by name. So I'm going to go there as soon as I get my bike back. It could be as early as tomorrow, but I'll take a little road trip and see if I can't get that paperwork. The hospital itself has been closed down, but as I understand it, all medical records have to be stored in the medical archives. And I forget which city that's in, but Alabama's not very far from me. So I'll take a trip down there and see if I can retrieve those, because that, in my mind, is the best connection that I have, because I mentioned him by name. That was the first time that I did that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. Now, I think with the information, if you can't get from them, I know you can file a Freedom of Information Act request. My only concern was that we really look at, if you suddenly start filing all these requests on police reports and CPS reports, would that flag anything? And I don't want to talk to any journalists that I don't.
I'm rebooting. Bear with me.
Police requests, and I'm even looking carefully at, how could I look at requesting, or can I do so somehow anonymously? So that's what I'm trying to sort of sort of it there.
So I'll take a trip down there.
That would be extremely helpful information, obviously, those files. The other one that you can request that would help would be anything from your interview at Fort Carson.
Okay.
Fort Carson.
Comfortable to.
Well, my biggest thing there would just be, I would just, the military isn't like, if I were to contact Fort Carson now, they would have no idea what I'm talking about. I would have to track down those people that were involved in that investigation, and that is possible. I'm still in contact with some of the people that I served with from that time, so I would just need to reach out and just could be as early as that, if that's a possibility.
Yeah, that seems like that. So don't contact Fort Carson. What I was hoping is we could get like a copy of your interview from Fort Carson, but I understand with U.S. military all sort of classifications that might be difficult.
It might be, yes.
But they would have records of the films. That's the thing.
They would, yeah. They would have, I would think.
They have copies somewhere.
That they possibly would.
Unless they destroyed them.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules of evidence are in something like that. Very possibly. They could.
I mean, seems like what we could start with is with, was it Bayless and the other fellow, that if you could try to contact them.
So this was, they saying was in the deposition. Hold on. Right here. This document right here. So Virginia Group Fight mentioned Sasha Riley's dad. Is this him? In her deposition. Oh, so yeah, I had that. Hold on, I'll get back to that in just a minute. I was trying to go through the things that I sent to myself. Oh, I should have snapped that. Just in case I can't find it again. Snap that. That she mentioned his foster. Yeah, but I'm only because it's tied to the president, so he can get in there and destroy documents, And that's part of the problem with him and Jack Smith. He had classified information that he should not have had. So hopefully, because I'm absolutely convinced that Donald Trump knows exactly who Sasha uh, Riley is and his dad, and they saying his dad may be a snitch, but he was in the hospital. Yeah, hopefully it's not. It's still there, but stuff will disappear. It will disappear. Oh wow, this is just it's beyond belief for me. Hold on, let me get back to what we were listening to. Hold on, I had to reboot. I had to reboot. Hold on. Shout out to Sasha again. I don't know how. I mean, I know if he knows the Lord, I know how he made it over, baby. But this is way overwhelming. Way overwhelming. Well, I pray that he receive uh, tremendous healing, compensation, all of that, all of the above. Let me bring it back over here. Hold on. Epstein criminal. 854.
Was it Bayless and the other fellow that
Right.
if you could try to contact them and ask them, if they would be willing to,
Can y'all hear?
To talk about it.
yeah, and just say it's extremely confidential, isn't with any, that it would be confidential and so on. Like that, it's just like a starting point there.
Right. Well, I will reach out in that direction and see what
Hopefully it's there.
What I can reach. And as soon as I get my bike back,
Hopefully Trump didn't know.
take a
Well, he
little
said
trip.
the name of the
Been kind of
hospital.
wanting to go for a ride anyway, so.
Yeah, well, let me ask you a question. Like, do you think, is there any way that they could be, like, if you even reaching out to them might trigger anything in terms of,
Not from their end. If like, if I'm being monitored, if I'm being passively, surveilled in some way, then maybe, but I don't know. There's so much going on that
Right. It's a lot
would
going
not
on.
think that too many resources would be dedicated to me, kind of just everything that's going on. I doubt.
Yeah, but this was in the 80s, though. He said in 1989.
I could see potentially if I started going and trying to get my CPS reports and contacting Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida, trying to get the police reports from my childhood, I could see maybe that raising a red flag.
yeah.
But as far as just me reaching out to my old Army buddies, I don't think so. I think I could probably communicate with them, see what they remember.
I hope not. I pray to God.
So my suggestion is that before you reach out to your old Army buddies, that you get the paperwork from the hospital first, because that's a very important starting point, just in case you reaching out to your buddies would in any way trigger anything. And you can travel there safely to and from and so on. Okay. Okay, so yeah, let's get the paperwork from the hospital, and then we can look at reaching out to the Army buddies afterwards. And then whatever of those copies, we'll just figure out how we can just photograph them. And I think with Proton Mail, there's something called Proton Drive, and there's like a certain amount of gigabytes of storage. In fact, I just uploaded one of the audio recordings in Proton Drive because I'm looking at how is most effective to get to the police
I know he don't want nobody. He didn't want nobody to know he took it up the butt. Talks.
And then on a positive, like the audio, how great, the audio recordings will be stored on a Victoria Police Department's secure server. So that's something that's important. I feel much better about that, actually, as a starting point, so.
Okay.
And then, I think, now, what the police officer said, well, let's talk about some of those, in terms of like the investigation, this was sort of, you know, from their perspective, they look and they say, okay, how do they know you're telling the truth? And I said, well, when you hear the audio recordings, you'll hopefully you can discern.
Right.
You know, some folks are different, you know, like the police officers, you know,
And for the ones,
got lots of
oh
experience,
man.
and, you know, I know.
And for the ones that were not here last night, it ran across. This was dated April 6, 2022, where he wrote, hold on, let me get to it. Where he wrote, he was a child porn star. I have a lot more than allegations. If you don't believe me, there's a movie, a semi-famous named Betty Davis Eyes. I had X with Andy Biggs and Donald Trump when I was 10 years old. Trump is in my medical records from 1989, and I have released them. So I guess he got them. I don't know. This was dated April 6, 2022. Yep. Yep. And there has been, I'm going to get to it next before I get to Candace, about a same-sex lover was unalived at Mar-a-Lago. I haven't done the investigation. I just saw it, and I'm gonna play it, and we're going to listen to it together and react to it. I don't know if it's true or not, but we know he liked that, you know, that stomach action. We know he liked blowing on dill pickles. A bill, yeah, you know, pickle. And after Donald Trump did him, he wanted to be done. And that's how the stick, at least it had a condom on it, you know. He was practicing safe stickball. Yeah, he got tailed in and had to be rushed, airlift. Ooh, Lord. Ooh! Imagine having to explain that. How did you get ripped in the butt? Doing the butt. Boom, boom, boom. Work that. Oh. Woo! I ain't got no sense. Miss Teen Venezuela. Does he have on a dress? Oh, that's because he was begging for that Nobel Peace Prize. Lord. Hey, Nelda. He will tell that. Baby, he didn't want nobody to know that he liked that butt action. But I said it. Said if he eat that pickle the way he was trying to get that bill, baby, the way he was getting ready to gnaw that pickle down. Oh yeah, he done took it up there, you know, big ass hips. Y'all don't remember I told y'all them big ass hips? Look at him, Miss Teen Venezuela, not stick by. said he kicked that stick up that beep. Yeah, he screamed like he had never screamed before. He said, I know I've been changed. Yeah, he was screaming, ah! Yeah, everybody heard him. He should have locked the door. Yeah, it wasn't because shit they could have done. Where is that? Let me finish this up real quick because I don't know what else is on here. Yeah.
So the police officers' approach to hearing the audio files would be quite different than sometimes how they might look. So they're asking, well, where did I meet you? You know, those sort of questions. And I said, well, I offered to help. You know, I tried to provide the right context. So in terms of, you know, I know what sort of questions folks will ask. And so some of the folks, like something that in terms of documentation that helps in terms of with the police is that, you know, that, yeah, you were at the Army. Do you have like a document that says what years you're in service that you can send me that we can start compiling those? Yeah.
Yeah, I got a DD-214 that gives you my years of service. Yeah, I can corroborate that like in the next few minutes as soon as I get off the phone.
Oh, sure, that's perfect because then I can send when I send a link to the audio
And
files,
his child's ex video that was being recorded showed up on the same military base. Man, this is crazy. I need to listen to this by before I present it to y'all because I don't know what else is on it. But let me hear this right quick.
It started as a small-town mystery, a teenager strangled in a Florida canal. But years later, that same murder would lead detectives to one of the most powerful addresses in America.
Y'all ready? Hit the like button.
It started as a small-town mystery, a teenager strangled in a
Strangled. Interesting that they say strangled. What did he say? What was one of Donald Trump's fantasies? Sat on his stomach and did what to him? And kept playing with him, saying next time I'm gonna unalive you. Oh, and kept until he passed out. I need for y'all to hit those three dots at the top right corner end of your device. Hit the three dots. Hit the three dots. Do y'all remember hearing Sasha talk about Donald Trump sat on his stomach, sat on his chest, put his hands around his throat? And it reminded me, somebody in the comment section was saying it was some adrenaline, chromium, something. I don't know. It's some type of, I read it was about the blood from the fear that gave them power or something. Y'all hit those three dots at the top right corner. I need to see the likes go up. 239 people ear hustling, but y'all not hitting those three dots. So what you ear hustling for? If you can't hit the dots, go ahead and remove yourself. We'll wait. Also, y'all just want a black screen. Double tap the face of your phone or hit the three dots or leave. You don't get no picture or nothing. Not today. I need to see the likes go up. Yeah, take him on back and leave. You take your life back and get out. So we can resume. There's an Epstein ad going on.
And whatever revelations lie in those Epstein files are his cadre of protective. Hey, Jagger, as Trump spirals into a reactionary panic over the Epstein files, well, the reality is pressure's coming from all sides.
Y'all gonna hit
Listen to
the.
me right now, because what just happened in Washington is going to shatter everything he's thought he.
Oh yeah, I can't get none of that tea, baby. Now who are you? What did Trump do to you? What did Trump do to you at Mar-a-Lago? Let's hear this. Look at him, looking sick and frail, looking like hell. Ooh wee, let's go.
Florida Canal. But years later, that same it started as a small town mystery, a teenager strangled in a Florida canal. But years later, that same murder would lead detectives to one of the most powerful addresses in America, Mar-a-Lago, home to Donald Trump. In the summer of 1984, Palm Beach County was bursting with energy. The clubs were throbbing with music. The beaches were filled with sunburned bodies. And a 19-year-old kid named Jeffrey Haggerty was just trying to find freedom wherever he could. He was young, gay, and just starting to carve out a life for himself. But within hours of leaving a nightclub on Saturday night, Jeff's body would be pulled from a canal, strangled, his jeans undone, and his car dumped miles away. Police scrambled for answers. Was it a jealous lover, a drug dealer, a mysterious man who was dressed up like Boy George who was talking to him that night? The investigation would spiral through false leads and cold trails, leaving his friends and family desperate for answers and a case that essentially went cold. And then,
So y'all want to go members only?
Twist.
Hold
A
on.
different teenager strangled his much older lover, a man who just happened to be Donald Trump's personal butler at Mar-a-Lago, and it was that murder that.
Oh hell no. He wasn't Donald Trump. Oh hell no. He wasn't his butler. The butler. Who is the butler? So they saying he was Donald Trump's butler lover. No, I don't believe that. He was there for Donald Trump. Let's hear this again.
A bizarre twist. A different teenager strangled his much older lover, a man who just happened to be Donald Trump's personal butler at
Hold
Mar-a-Lago.
on.
Later, a bizarre twist. Leads and cold trails, leaving his friends and family desperate for answers and a case that essentially went cold. And then, years later, a bizarre twist. A different teenager strangled his much older lover, a man who just happened to be Donald Trump's personal butler at Mar-a-Lago, and it was that murder that would breathe new life into Jeff's forgotten case, pulling detectives towards the man who had left a fingerprint in Jeff's car, and who had quietly confessed to killing him. This is Case Files with Matt Cullen, and today we are diving deep into the story of Jeffrey Haggerty, his life.
So, another case where Donald Trump's butler was unalive by someone.
For a teenager strangled his much older lover, a man who just
a teenager strangled his much older. Wow. So do everybody associated with Trump, all the men like young teenage
happened to be Donald Trump's personal butler at Mar-a-Lago, and it was that murder that would breathe new life into Jeff's forgotten case, pulling detectives towards the man who had left a fingerprint in Jeff's car, and who had quietly confessed to killing him. This is Case Files with Matt Cullen, and today we are diving deep into the story of Jeffrey Haggerty, his life, his death, and a strange winding path that finally revealed his killer. When Patrick Foster and his father Stephen set out that morning in July of 1984, they really weren't looking for anything unusual. They lived in a part of Palm
in the 80s. Sasha was in the 80s.
Beach County called the Acreage, which was a rural community made of dirt roads and canals,
And
where homes
farms.
sat really far apart from each other on separate.
And farms. Oh, shit. Oh, your medication kicking in? It look like it's about to get good, because this is the farmland. And Sasha said he was like
And his father, Stephen,
taking
set
the
out that morning in
farms.
July of 1984. They really weren't looking for anything unusual. They lived in a part of Palm Beach County called the Acreage, which was a rural community made of dirt roads and canals,
Gotcha.
and where homes sat really far apart from each other on separate big lands. You know, it was the kind of place where kids could ride dirt bikes around, or go-karts through the sandy
I
trails.
hope you feel better.
And that morning, Patrick was on his go-kart going through the canals when he saw something that caught his eye. At first, it just kind of looked like debris, or maybe even
Are
a
you at
mannequin,
home? Or
something
you
that was
back in
just
the
tossed in the
hospital?
water. But as he slowed down, the shape started to become more clear. It wasn't trash, it was a body. He shouted for his dad, who rushed over. Floating in the shallow water was a young man. Face down, his body snagged the tall grass at the edge of the canal. He was dressed in sneakers, jeans, a gray t-shirt, and a gold necklace. His jeans were unzipped.
Oh,
Whoever he
wow.
was, his life had ended violently. When deputies from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office arrived, they immediately saw signs of foul play. Bruising around the neck was suggesting strangulation. There were drag marks in the dirt by the canal. Beer cans were scattered nearby, and it was really the kind of scene that felt both random and intentional. Like someone maybe had been drinking, partying, and something happened and it went terribly wrong. The body was taken for fingerprinting, and the name came back very quickly. Jeffrey Hagerty, 19 years old, from Jupiter, Florida. To investigators, he was just another statistic at first. Palm Beach County was in the middle of its bloodiest year on record, 113 homicides in 1984 alone. But to those who knew him, Jeff, of course, wasn't a statistic. He was just a kid with restless energy and a flair for style, and a rather complicated life that felt like it was finally starting to turn around. Jeff was born on April 19th, 1965. He was adopted as an infant by John and Faye Hagerty,
Adopted.
a Catholic couple that would soon have 2 more biological sons after they adopted him. They moved to Jupiter Farms in the early 70s. Families in that area really prided themselves on being more traditional and close-knit. But by the time he reached high school, Jeffrey knew that he was gay. Growing up in Jupiter Farms in the early 1980s, and in a devout Catholic household, meant that wasn't something that you admitted openly. His parents didn't reject him, but they didn't exactly embrace him either. At one point, they even sent him to a psychiatrist, hoping that he could maybe change his feelings and revert to a more straight lifestyle, I guess. Jeff kind of started to flounder as he grew up. He dropped out of school and was in between jobs all the time and wrecked his car. But when he finally discovered cosmetology, something shifted inside of him. Styling hair gave him a purpose. And his father even bought him a Toyota Starlet so he could get to class. I think what truly lit him up, though, was Palm Beach's gay nightlife.
I don't know what
which
that
I
mean,
totally understand.
PB.
When I was 18 and I went to college in New York City, like, going out and being around all these other gay people just was electric and addicting and so much fun. He went to the Air Force Beach for cruising, but I think the clubs were his true sanctuary. Ever feel like your personal information is just kind of out there? Your full name, your phone number, your address, your financial data. Someone's probably got it. $1 million in identity theft insurance protect. Safe spaces for him. Kevin's Cabaret, which was a club. Places like Kevin's and Kismet's and Palm Beach were really sanctuaries and safe spaces for him. Kevin's Cabaret, which was a club there, was his favorite. And when Kevin's closed at 2 a.m., he and his friends would then spill into the Kismet bar until 5 a.m. And on Sundays, it would hit this place called HG Roosters with their tea dances. Jeff also fell really hard for Dwayne Presto, who was a tall waiter from New Jersey. Their relationship was rather rocky. It was full of getting together, breaking up, fighting, breaking up, getting back together. But Jeff really couldn't let him go. He even kept Dwayne's photo in his glove box in his car. By the summer of 1984, Jeff was balancing school, friends, and Dwayne. On June 30th, the night that he was found dead, he had spent the day on the beach with his friends and then went out. And at Kevin's that night, the bar they'd always go to, people noticed that he looked upset. His friend Stacy offered to stay with him, but Jeff said that he was fine and he had talked to some men and he just really wanted to go home for the night. So Stacy walked him to his car. He drove north on Dixie Highway and then he vanished. By morning, he was dead in the canal. So police started where they normally do, with a boyfriend. Dwayne had admitted that he'd been romantically attached to Jeff, as well as another young man in the circle, Danny Cantwell. He had said that on the night that Jeff had disappeared, he had only dropped Danny off and went home and never saw Jeff again. He even agreed to a polygraph. The examiner had asked him if he'd seen Jeff on June 30th. They asked him if he had lied about his whereabouts, if he had killed Jeff. The results suggested deception on the last two questions. Investigators rightfully leaned in, but Dwayne had insisted that it was guilt, not murder, that showed up on those results. He had loved Jeff, he said. He felt awful about those fights, but he hadn't killed him. And a second polygraph later that month showed no deception at all. Psychologists started to argue that his feelings could have skewed the first polygraph test, and his alibi checked out. So without more, detectives really couldn't charge him. Tips started pouring in, each seemingly more strange than the last. One of Jeff's friends, named Pam, later remembered Jeff telling her that there was a Mexican man after him, though he never explained what that actually meant. And then there was Kismet, the bar they'd go to later on in the evening. Bartenders there remembered Jeff speaking to a man who was dressed like Boy George. Floppy hat, flamboyant, unmistakable, and that Boy George angle set the media on fire. And detectives started tracking down drag queens and impersonators across Florida. But every single lead just fizzled out. And then, 3 weeks after the murder, detectives found Jeff's car. It was abandoned on Garden Avenue in West Palm Beach. Inside were beer cans, sand, cigarettes, and cards from gay clubs. His wallet and his ID were missing. The car looked entirely wiped of fingerprints, except for one. On the rearview mirror, there's a fingerprint that did not belong to Jeff. Detectives believed that it must have been the killer's fingerprint, but it didn't match anyone in the system. And with that, the case went cold.
Until.
For years after Jeff's death, his case sat in silence. I mean, detectives had worked their leads. The jealous boyfriend, the mysterious Mexican man, the Boy George lookalike. But every trail seemed to end the same way, with really nothing. The only piece of evidence was that one single fingerprint in Jeff's car, and without a match in the system was essentially like a ghost fingerprint. And by the end of 1984, Jeff's murder was really just one of the many cases that they were dealing with in West Palm Beach at that time. And then in 1986, another murder in Palm Beach jolted detectives back to Jeff's name. That July, police discovered the body of Emery James Illionet, a 50-something butler who worked at Mar-a-Lago. He wasn't just a butler, he was Donald Trump's personal butler, someone who was trusted to manage his house.
50-something years old. Hold on. He would have.
Police discovered the body of Emery James Illionet, a 50-something butler who worked at Mar-a-Lago. He wasn't just a butler, he was Donald Trump's personal butler, someone who was trusted to manage his household. He had been strangled to death and buried in the backyard of the...
Here we go. There go that strangle. Y'all know what we gonna do if we find out that he is a serial... How can a hand job huh? Now Sasha done said he put hands on his chest and blacked him out.
Mar-a-Lago. He wasn't just a butler, he was Donald Trump's personal butler, someone who was trusted to manage his household. He had been strangled to death and buried in the backyard of the North Palm Beach home he shared with his boyfriend, Kirk Emmerich. Newspapers started running headlines, not just because of the brutality of it all, but because of Donald Trump's association to it. It was bizarre. It was kind of a story that seemed too strange for reality. Kurt admitted what happened. He had said that Emery forced himself on him during an argument and in a panic strangled him. Unsure of what to do, Kurt decided the next best thing was to bury his body and flee. And the stench from the backyard, in a panic, strangled him. Bizarre. It was kind of a story that seemed too strange for reality. Kurt admitted what happened. He had said that Emery forced himself on him during an argument and in a panic strangled him. Unsure of what to do, Kurt decided the next best thing was to bury his body and flee. And the stench from the backyard finally alerted the neighbors, who called the police, and the police were able to track down Kurt at a Holiday Inn, I believe. And that's where he confessed. His lawyers painted him as someone that was lured in, used, and pushed to a breaking point. And the jury bought it, and Kurt was acquitted of second-degree murder. But while he was in jail awaiting trial, Kurt made a friend by the name of Jeffrey Payne. I know there are a lot of names, and now there's two Jeffreys in the story too. There's Jeffrey Payne, and there's Jeffrey Haggerty, and I'll try to make sure I associate them differently so you don't get confused. This Jeffrey Payne, was another inmate in the jail.
He liked to
a long
unalive.
rap sheet of burglaries, robberies, and hustling. He was known in the gay bar scene as a man who targeted closeted men for money and for thrills. And he really carried himself with this air that he really wanted everyone around him to think that he was dangerous and kind of scary. And one day, in that jail, he told Kurt something that would change everything. He had said that he had strangled someone once. At first, Kurt didn't know what to make of it, because in jail, men kind of brag all the time to establish their dominance. But after his acquittal, he had told detectives what Jeffrey had said. And when they ran the name Jeffrey Payne, they realized it wasn't just talk. His fingerprint was the one sitting in Jeff's car. When investigators confronted him about Jeff's murder, he started to grow nervous, he asked for a lawyer, and he really started to clam up. I think he realized, like, oh shit, I might be caught. In 1987, Jeffrey Payne was indicted for Jeff's murder. First-degree murder, sexual battery, robbery, and grand theft. But the wheels of justice can turn really slowly. Extradition issues, legal maneuvering, and his own declining health delayed the trial for years. By 1991, Jeffrey had tested positive for HIV, and prosecutors worried if he'd even survive long enough to face a jury. When the trial finally opened in April of 1992,
Now, I was wondering when that word was going to come
Jeff's
up.
body was pulled from the canal that day. Jurors were asked to sit in judgment of a case that was already fading from public memory, one of the many forgotten murders of gay men in Florida during that time. But the courtroom testimony brought Jeff's final hours back into stark focus. Detectives walked through the crime scene. The bruising on Jeff's neck, the drag marks near the canal. Forensic experts explained that he had died from strangulation, not drowning, and the bruises around his neck and body had shown that he was forced down. They pointed to the fingerprint on the rearview mirror, which matched Jeffrey Payne's fingerprint. Jeff's friends took the stand, painting a kid who just loved to live boldly. And then came Russell Rose, one of Jeff Haggerty's closest friends. He explained that while Jeffrey Payne was never in their inner circle, he was a really familiar face in Palm Beach's gay nightlife scene. He said that you really couldn't avoid him. If you're at Kevin's or at Kismet, you would see him sooner or later. And he carried a reputation as a hustler, someone older and intimidating, the kind of guy who thrived on picking fights just so he could show that he was the one in control. Russell had told the jury about one of those encounters, a fight he once had with Jeffrey Payne, and how Jeffrey had shouted something at him in the middle of the fight. Quote, "I'll kill you just like I did Jeff." The courtroom fell silent, and when I read that I was confused, like why hadn't Russell come forward with that years ago? But regardless, those words carried weight. Jeffrey's defense tried to tear holes in the case. They argued that Kurt's testimony was unreliable, and that jailhouse snitches say anything for attention. They said that Jeffrey's fingerprint in Jeffrey Haggerty's car didn't necessarily prove murder. Maybe they had met before, maybe they had hooked up before. They painted him as a thief and a hustler, sure, but not a murderer. But the jury was not convinced, and after hours of deliberation, they found him guilty of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison. For Jeff's family and friends, the verdict brought relief, but not closure. I mean, they had waited almost a decade for answers. And even then, the details remained murky. Why Jeff?
Why is there a pattern with a strangulation, Trump, Butler, pilot, homeboy, congressman? I mean, it just, okay, yeah, let's shift gears, please. Let's shift. Is this all?
This morning, federal marshals arrived at Mar-a-Lago, not for a search, not for an arrest, for a seizure, a court-ordered seizure to enforce unpaid legal judgments. I've prosecuted cases for 3 decades, war crimes, organized crime, corrupt officials. I've seen debt collection enforcement, but I've never seen it at this scale, involving assets of this value for someone who spent years claiming immunity from everything. Let me be clear about something before we go further. I know some of you are thinking this sounds too dramatic, like it can't be real. I understand that skepticism, but this is real. This is standard legal process. It just happens to...
Hit the 3 dots at the top right corner, or double tap the face of your screen. Oh, I'm finna take Janet's suggestion and go members only. Hit the like button. It's the end of your device. Hit it. Put on, hit it. A double tap the face. Please support the platform. Absolutely. I have goals set, likes, like, share, subscribe, join the membership. Only 2 people have helped me reach my goal. I need something. Get the likes up. Double tap the face of your phone device or hit the 3 dots. Help me reach my goal. Send super stickers, super something. But I'm asking you right now, if you want to continue to listen, to hit the like button. Quickly. Hi, Angela. Hi, William.
Enforce unpaid legal judgments. I've prosecuted. This morning, federal marshals arrived at Mar-a-Lago, not for a search, not for an arrest, for a seizure, a court-ordered seizure to enforce unpaid legal judgments. I've prosecuted cases for 3 decades,
come out the bushes
war crimes,
and hit the like button.
crime,
Thank you,
corrupt
Angela.
officials. I've seen debt collection enforcement, but I've never seen it at this scale, involving assets of this value for someone who spent years claiming immunity from everything. Let me be clear about something before we go further. I know some of you are thinking this sounds too dramatic, like it can't be real. I understand that skepticism, but this is real. This is standard legal process. It just happens to involve a property worth hundreds of millions of dollars and an individual who spent years refusing to comply with court orders. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, what the law says, and why this moment matters. Not speculation, evidence. I'll be tracking this case as it develops. Every legal step,
I'm in the
every
bushes,
filing,
but I always hit
no
the like
spin.
button. Thank you,
If
Candy
you want the evidence
Jones.
without the noise, subscribe.
I
Now,
appreciate
here's what
it.
makes this different from any property seizure I've witnessed in 30 years of federal prosecution. The scale, yes, but more importantly, the pattern. This isn't the first judgment. It's not even the second. It's the 3rd major civil judgment with the same response every single time. Delay, deny, don't pay. That pattern tells me something, and I'm going to show you what it tells me. Let me give you the timeline because the details matter here.
Let's go.
First judgment, $83 million, defamation case, jury verdict,
Kind for
January
hi.
2024.
Thank you.
The plaintiff's attorney sent a demand letter, payment due within 30 days. No payment came. Second judgment, $355 million plus interest, fraud case, judge's ruling, February 2024. Again, payment demand. Again, no payment. Instead, appeals. Appeals are legal, but they don't eliminate the debt. They just delay enforcement. Third judgment, $91 million. Another defamation case. Different plaintiff, same pattern. March 2024. By this point, we're looking at
Thank
over
you,
$500
Theo.
million in court-ordered judgments. Not allegations, not lawsuits, judgments. That means courts looked at evidence, juries heard testimony, and legal determinations were made. Now here's where standard legal process kicks in. You've heard the term writ of execution. Here's what it actually means in plain English. When someone refuses
very
to pay a
low.
court judgment, the winning party can ask the court to seize assets. Houses, cars, bank accounts, property. That's not politics. That's not persecution. That's standard debt collection law. It's the same process a bank uses if you default on a loan, or a business uses if you don't pay an invoice after losing in court. The law doesn't distinguish between regular citizens and wealthy individuals. The process is identical. So the attorneys for the plaintiffs filed for writs of execution. They identified assets. Mar-a-Lago came up because it's registered as a commercial property, a club, not a personal residence.
What?
That
Oh,
matters
yeah.
legally.
Yeah.
Personal residences have certain protections. Commercial properties don't. The court granted
Got
certain
it.
protections. Commercial properties don't. The court granted the writs. Federal
But he live in Mar-a-Lago.
personal residences have
So
certain protections.
Mar-a-Lago is a club, but he live there. That golf course It's the golf course, but Ivana is buried there, so it's a burial site too. Wow, wow. Go out, yeah, go out to the golf course too. Let's go.
Commercial properties don't. The court granted the writs because it's registered as a commercial property. So the attorneys for the plaintiffs filed for writs of execution. They identified assets. Mar-a-Lago came up because it's registered as a commercial property, a club, not a personal residence. That matters legally. Personal residences have certain protections. Commercial properties don't.
Thank you,
The
Candy.
court granted the writs. Federal marshals were authorized to enforce them. That's what happened this morning. I want to explain how this process works because the media isn't doing it clearly, and you deserve to understand your own legal system.
Thank you.
Here's the escalation. Step 1. Judgment entered. A court or jury determines someone owes money. That judgment becomes a matter of public record. Step 2. Demand for payment. The winning party formally demands the money, usually gives 30 to 60 days. Step 3. If no payment comes, they file for a writ of execution. That's a court order authorizing seizure of assets to satisfy the debt. Step 4. Marshals or sheriffs enforce the writ. They inventory assets, arrange for valuation, and begin the process of liquidation if necessary. If you won a lawsuit and the other party refused to pay, you'd have this exact same right. You could go to court, get a writ, and have law enforcement seize their assets to cover what they owe you. The law doesn't care about status. It cares about debt and assets. Now, I know some of you are asking, can they really seize Mar-a-Lago? Yes. Here's why. It's classified as a commercial property. It operates as a private club with paying members. That means it's a business asset, not a protected personal residence. Business assets are fair game for judgment enforcement. The property will be appraised. If the debtor still doesn't pay, it can be sold at auction. The proceeds go to satisfy the judgment. Any excess goes back to the debtor. That's standard process. It happens thousands of times a year across the country. The only difference here is the property value and the person involved. But the legal authority is identical. That's the legal mechanism. Now let me show you what this means beyond one property. Here's where I need you to see the pattern because this is bigger than one debt or one property. This is the third major judgment. First case, defamation, $83 million. Second case, fraud, $355 million. Third case, defamation, $91 million. 3 separate cases, 3 separate courts. 3 juries or judges looked at evidence and ruled. And 3 times, the same response. Delay, deny, don't pay. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern of behavior. I've prosecuted cases for 30 years. I've seen defendants try every tactic to avoid accountability. What I haven't seen is this scale of resistance to basic civil enforcement. And here's why that matters to everyone, not just the people involved in these cases. Civil courts are how we resolve disputes without violence, contract disagreements, business fraud, defamation, personal injury. When someone wrongs you and won't make it right, you go to court. You present evidence. A jury or judge decides. If you win, you get a judgment. But that judgment means absolutely nothing if it can't be enforced. If someone with resources can simply refuse to pay court judgments indefinitely, what does that mean for everyone else who uses civil courts? It means the system only works for people without the money to delay and appeal endlessly. Let me know in the comments. Does this pattern of ignoring judgments change how you see civil enforcement? I'm curious what you're seeing here. Because
Thank
here's
you,
what I
hot
see.
chocolate.
Those juries in those
How are
cases
you
were
tonight?
regular
Great, I
citizens.
pray.
23 people looked
I
at
wish I
evidence.
could give
They reached
you
verdicts.
millions of
If those
super
verdicts can
chats.
be
I
ignored,
appreciate your hard
if
work.
judgments can
Thank
be
you.
treated as optional,
You always go
then the
hard
entire
for us.
civil justice system loses credibility. This is where we find out if
Shout out to Hot Chocolate. Hey, Auntie Fee, how are you tonight? Great, I pray. I pray you are doing well too, ma'am. I wish I could give you a million super chats. I appreciate your hard work. Thank you for always going hard for us. Thank you. I really, 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 really appreciate it. I really, really do. That was nice and sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
the system works when it's tested, not just in criminal court, in civil court too. When powerful people are held to the same standards as everyone else, Maybe you've never been involved in a lawsuit. Maybe you never will be. But here's why this matters to you directly. Civil courts are the non-criminal accountability system. Then the entire civil justice system loses credibility. This is where we find out if the system works when it's tested. Not just in criminal court, in civil court too. When powerful people are held to the same standards as everyone else. Maybe you've never been involved in a lawsuit. Maybe you never will be. But here's why this matters to you directly. Civil courts are the non-criminal accountability system. Someone breaches a contract with your small business. Someone defrauds you in a deal. Someone defames you and destroys your reputation. You can't put them in prison for that, but you can sue them. And if you win, you get a judgment. That judgment is supposed to mean something. It's supposed to give you recourse. It's supposed to make you whole. But if judgment enforcement becomes optional for the wealthy and well-connected, then that entire system collapses for regular people. If your small business wins a judgment against a larger company that refuses to pay, you need the Marshall system to work. You need writs of execution to have teeth. You need courts to back up their own orders. If you're defrauded and you win in court, you need asset seizure to mean something. Otherwise, justice is just a word on paper with no real-world consequence. When enforcement becomes optional for people with resources to delay and appeal endlessly, the system fails for everyone else. That's what's at stake here. Not just one property or one individual. The principle that court judgments matter, that civil accountability exists, that the system works equally whether you're rich or poor, powerful or ordinary. That's what's being tested right now. So that's what's at stake for you. Now let me tell you what happens next and what to watch for. Here's what happens next.
Let's go.
The marshals will conduct a full property valuation. They'll bring in appraisers, assess the market value of Mar-a-Lago, and file that valuation with the court. The debtor has options at that point. Option 1, pay the judgment, write a check, transfer funds, satisfy the debt. Enforcement stops immediately.
Make
Option
sure it's
2,
clear.
negotiate a
Hey,
settlement.
Dorothy.
Maybe pay a portion now, work out a payment plan for the rest. That happens in civil cases all the time.
We want it
Option
all
3,
up front.
continue appealing while the property sits in legal limbo. But here's the thing about that option. Appeals take time, but they don't stop enforcement indefinitely. Courts can allow seizure to proceed even while appeals are pending, especially when there's a pattern of delay. If no resolution comes, the property goes to auction. That's months away, not days. But it's the legal endpoint if the debt remains unpaid. The proceeds satisfy the judgment. Any excess returns to the debtor. That's standard process. No one is above the law. Not in criminal court, not in civil court, not anyone. But that only stays true if citizens hold the system accountable. The system works when people pay attention. If you want to watch this process unfold, step by step, evidence by evidence, subscribe. And let me know in the comments, do you think this gets
I hope we do. Hold on. Okay. I'm have to shift. Hi, just dropped in from Australia. Hi, Joe Mill. Thank you. Okay, let's get to some of this Charlie Kirk madness. It is fascinating how it's all coming full circle, is it not? Same devil worshiper, same, Zionist, same drinking of the blood. Ooh, only blood I know that works is the blood of Jesus. I don't know what's going. His blood still works. I tell you that it still works. All that other stuff, I don't know what to tell you. Who be drinking? Ooh, Lord, let's go.
Everybody who
A
walks
whole
through my door,
bottle
my
and
restaurant,
just
nobody will
glass
ever
full
leave
of it
without
like it's
smiling.
wine.
Stress. I like your
I
flower
don't want no red wine or
All right, Jesse on
nothing.
Fire, welcome back. So I got two stories in this video that are both
Just on fire.
gonna go real deep. Okay, so the first one, actually, well, we're gonna look at this. All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back. So I got two stories in this video that are both gonna go real deep. Okay, so the first one, actually, well, we're gonna look at the second in the video, is a shocking connection between TPUSA and people involved in, well, I believe, according to this report, it's Tyler Robinson's defense attorney.
Oh, wow.
If this is true,
They
if
connected
this is
too.
true, as you're going to find out, I am recording this after having recorded that segment. And when you see my face, like, because I watched it live like I always do, and I'm like, if this is true, that's the final straw for me.
Oh, wow.
This can't be true, and this not be a way bigger, like, TPUSA involved conspiracy. Like, those two things cannot be true at once. Okay, so I'm going to show you that. But first, we're going to be looking at this, okay? Because in case you guys didn't hear, there is a, like, new release, 159 page. Okay, so Michael Aquino is a completely established, well-known Satanist that was a colonel in the military. He wrote Mind Wars. I've known all about this guy for years. And apparently, okay,
The eyebrow guy.
apparently he has ties to, hang on, so Aquino Llers at the, okay, check this out. So Aquino co-authored the chilling 1980 paper Mind War with Major General Paul Vallely. Okay, that is like, Mind War is one of the most well-known, like, documents, like, at least in the public that looks at all of this stuff. It's the blueprint for psychological warfare on a population. I've read it.
Mm-hmm.
And he co-wrote it with Michael Vallely, all right? And, I'm sorry, Paul Vallely. And apparently, it's about wind wars
MIA.
without bullets. Like, that's why it's very much like, you read it, you're all, I don't really get, like, why is this a bad thing, but it's about dominating minds without having to kill the whole population, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So Vallely, still active, pushes Mind War as non-lethal influence, but it's straight up brainwashing. Candace exposed how this doctrine ties military and satanic ops infiltrating Christian fronts to shape narratives, hide scandals, and control the masses. Okay. Vallely, the co-author of Mind Wars, is on the TPUSA's advisory council. Okay. That is wild because, again, Michael Aquino, who
It's a devil
wrote
worship.
Mind Wars with him, is a straight up global Satanist leader.
Yep.
Okay? A global Satanist leader. I am going to show you, I'll show you one of his interviews right now. Okay? We're going to look at that first. Then we're going to look at a Jimmy Dore clip about the connection that we talked about earlier in the video, and that is what we're going to do. So, go ahead, subscribe to the channel if you don't mind, because I just, that's what I'll do. The only way that I grow is if people who watch my content, nothing helps more than when you guys share my content. Let's jump right into this thing, and let's go. If you guys are curious about what country has been fully captured by Satanists historically, that would be the UK, okay? That would be the UK. And I cannot stress enough, Mouthy Buddha does an entire series on Dauntless Dialogue, and he covers this. I can't remember what number it is. I'll tell you guys later at some point. I've actually recommended it a bunch
That's the
of
guy
times.
with the
But in that
eyebrow
one,
shaped as
okay,
horns.
It actually,
In the military.
whatever. They go through all of these guys who are the exact same generation as Aquino, exactly same generation. They're all dead now, and they went through each of them, like, all of the accusations of all this insane ritualistic, SRA, and all of them got knighted. Okay, we're not talking about like, oh, they were in kind of big position. They were all knighted in the UK. Okay, like, they had complete control of the government. And one of the ways that you know is if you ever see those guys and they grow their eyebrows out and then they twist them at the end, that's how you know. That's a real Satanist. Okay, like, it's like a real one, and one that you
Stay away from.
just tread real fucking light, dude. Because they will, I don't know, they're not enemies that I would want.
They gut you.
I'm actually the high priest of the Temple of Set, which worships Set, the ancient god of Egypt, who was later caricatured into the Judeo-Christian Satan.
When you perform rituals, what exactly do you wear?
We normally wear black robes with hoods and the pentagram of Set medallion that you see here. We may wear specialized accoutrements depending upon the style of ritual that we are using. If it's old Germanic, it may be appropriate costume there. If it is American Indian or Mayan or some other background or Egyptian, we would wear appropriate costumes there. We are a religion of practicing magicians, and each and every individual in a ritual is directly involved with it. Many people may come to us with a very distorted idea of what Satanism or what they believe to be devil worship is. If they come to us seeking simply a glorified sex club, or some sort of a lawless organization, then they'll be disappointed.
Did he
Because we
say a glorified sex club? So a glorified sex club is what Trump and them got going on. So he's saying if you're looking for the Trump effect, I ain't it. Is that what he's saying? A glorified sex club. Oh, wow.
idea of what Satanism or what they believe to be devil worship is. If they come to us seeking simply a glorified sex club or some sort of a lawless organization, then they'll be disappointed because we aren't that.
Oh, wow.
He's like, listen, we don't just like, have sex to have sex. When we do it, we're trying to birth the Antichrist. Okay?
Oh.
There's a lot more to it. But listen, if we do
Oh,
feel like,
wow.
having sex, we obviously have props for that kind of thing. What kind of props? He's all babies. Jesse on Fire, is it true that there were accusations that when Michael Aquino lived on the Presidio military base in San Francisco, that taking a bunch of
I'm sorry,
tadpoles
I
and they
accidentally
had used
hit
them
you
for
out.
exactly what
Hit
you
it.
think?
Y'all double tap the face of your screen.
Have sex to have sex. When we do it, we're trying to birth the Antichrist. Okay? There's a lot more to it. But listen, if we do feel like, having
a glorified sex club or some sort of a lawless organization, then they'll be disappointed because we aren't that.
Yeah, that will make a difference.
He's like,
Yeah.
listen, we don't just like, have sex to have sex. When we do it, we're trying to birth the Antichrist. Okay?
Wow.
There's a lot more to it. But listen, if we do feel like, having sex, we obviously have props for that kind of thing. What kind of props? He's all babies.
Babies?
Jesse on Fire, is it true that there were accusations that when Michael Aquino lived on the Presidio,
Did he say
having
babies?
sex, we obviously have props for that kind of thing. What kind of props? He's all babies. Jesse on Fire, is it true that there were accusations that when Michael Aquino lived on the Presidio military base in San Francisco, that him and his group had taken a bunch of tadpoles and they had used them for... Jesse on Fire, is it true that there were accusations that when Michael Aquino lived on the... have sex to have sex? When we do it, we're trying to birth the Antichrist. Okay? There's a lot more to it. But listen, if we do feel like, having sex, we obviously have props for that kind of thing. What kind of props? He's all babies.
Oh, they bleeped it out. Okay, I was...
There were accusations that when Michael Aquino lived on the Presidio military base in San Francisco, that him and his group had taken a bunch of tadpoles and they had used them for exactly what you would think. Yeah, true. Is it true that one of the tadpoles had chlamydia? Yeah, I think more than one of them actually had chlamydia. Okay. And did anyone ever get prosecuted for that? No, somehow they were able to navigate that situation. And
what
even
type
though
of shit?
the tadpoles had the clap, yeah, they ducked it. I don't know, man. Listen, don't worry though. There's no reason for us to be looking at this stuff. It's definitely not real. It's just not important.
Except if you look at his hieroglyphic representations in the British Museum, it looks rather like a tall, thin anteater with a forked tail. And
Listen, don't worry though. There's no reason for us to be looking at this stuff. It's definitely not real. It's just not important.
Except if you look at his hieroglyphic representations in the British Museum, it looks rather like a tall, thin anteater with a forked tail. And I'm sorry to say that he didn't appear to me visually that way. It was an understanding, a sense of intellectual realization that I felt. So
he got a hard on.
The summoning of the Prince of Darkness was more of an appeal to a very good friend.
Hey guys, colonel in the military, the godfather of psychological warfare, right here. Just so you know, okay? But listen, guys, when people start talking about how the world is run by satanic, like there's no evidence of that whatsoever. There's no reason for you to look any deeper into it because it's just not true.
I don't know if I believe that. What you got
Except
next?
for the fact that he was very open about this his entire career, and that was fine. with everyone. Listen, as long as he's doing good psychological warfare, there's no reason to look into this any further.
Is it possible for you as a Satanist to curse somebody?
Well, I think so. I would say that it is really possible for any individual to set in motion the kinds of things that the public would understand as a curse.
So you could curse somebody?
Yes.
What would lead you to do that?
Very little nowadays. In the earliest days of the Church of Satan, when you were given very simplistic and very easy ways.
This is why you don't play with the devil.
Everybody wanted to experiment
Good
with it a
people.
little bit.
Have you ever cursed anybody?
Yes.
I have really felt no need to, I would say, because events seem to adjust themselves to my satisfaction without my having to resort to that.
So he copied the magic rituals of Nazi leader Heinrich Himmler.
This is what would happen to your body.
Lord,
if you ate mood
Lord,
every
Lord,
day.
Lord,
Day one,
have mercy.
you take your first gummy.
What in the world is going on?
So listen, I mean, there's no evidence.
None of this is fine.
There's no
I
evidence
agree.
that the, you know, because Heinrich Himmler, what? Heinrich Himmler was the head of the, come on guys, the SS. And the SS was known as the most ruthless group. Inside of that group, people were terrified of them. And they did all kinds of dark occult stuff. And then they essentially led the genocide that we all know about. And hey guys, let's get into the weeds on how many numbers it was. Not important today. Not important today. Right now we're talking about, like, you know, Michael Aquino over here, who apparently has influence inside of the board. It's important to know that everything that we've said about Pizzagate is not true. There is no evidence of a satanic cabal that sits on top of everything worldwide in the Western Hemisphere. But that's fine, guys. Let's move on.
That's
to
a lie.
other
I don't understand your
All right,
sarcasm.
Jesse on Fire, welcome back. I am cranking content today, you guys, because I'm leaving for Mexico and first thing in the morning.
Okay, I could
And
watch
so
him by.
I'm trying to find, you know, topics that I can do that I can just cover right now real fast.
Oh, I could go to
And
him by myself because I don't understand your sarcasm. Because I believe, although it wasn't at the pizza place, I believe all that shit is. I believe they really are practicing that. So I don't know if you're being sarcastic. And yeah, I'm gonna move on. But where he was going, I can go to myself. I have it already over here. Oh, where is it? I heard it earlier today. Oh, they playing. You know, I don't understand these people. I don't understand them at all. Dang it, where is it? Dang it, what is his name? Israel. I don't want to hear about Israel. I mean, I do, but not right now.
Morning Micah's IA promo videos when she was 22 and 23 years old.
this virgin here,
I don't know if you've seen them, but here's There's been a lot of videos of Erika Kirk going around showing her inside of CIA promo videos when she was 22 and 23 years old.
This virgin here?
I don't know if you've seen them, but here's another one. James Kirk.
I don't
James Lee
like
found
the
another
way
one.
his eyes. Yeah, I don't.
With some lighter news to round out the week, Erika Kirk might actually be CIA. You think? Let's watch.
Yeah, she's CIA.
So the internet sleuths have dug up an old CIA documentary, and Erika Kirk is in it. Check this out.
We have 5 major threats that make our grid extremely vulnerable that we've presented to congressional officials. 1 being cyber, 2 being hackers,
And
3
Candace
being
showed us
physical
another one
threats,
last night.
4th one is solar EMP, and the 5th one is man-made EMP. So the concern that we have is that we put out this critical information, and when we go over this risk analysis, they hear what we're saying, but they don't want to take action.
Okay, so apparently this clip is from a documentary called Black Start USA, and Erika Kirk, née Fronsby, appears as a presenter or briefer on a topic of electromagnetic pulse, EMP threats, and vulnerabilities in the U.S. power grid.
Booking.com has all kinds of stays because a city hotel is right for some. But
First of all, I'm pretty sure she was 23 years old. So she's been CIA since the time she was a beauty queen. They got her, went and got her. So she's been CIA for a long time. Her mother is also in defense, and it all centers around Camp Huachuca.
Fort Hoctua, I believe.
Or Fort Hoctua, as Kirk calls it.
She is shown briefing or addressing a group of national security professionals, experts, and figures, including former CIA Director James Woolsey. The footage depicts her delivering information about potential EMP attacks which could originate from high-altitude detonations or other means, and the risk of the coordinated physical attacks that could lead to widespread blackouts or grid failure. This is framed in the context of discussing Black Start protocols, the untested procedures for starting the power grid after a major disruption. Wow.
Wow. What does that tell you, Kurt? That tells me that she's been CIA since before she had her mind wiped.
Ever since she was first cloned, she's probably been in the organization.
First clone.
Since she was first cloned, she's probably been in the organization.
Yeah, we laughing, but
there she is. She's 23.
Ever since she was first cloned, she's probably been in the organization.
There she is. She's 23 years old, giving it a presentation to CIA higher ups.
Yeah, well, her mom makes EMP defense weapons or something, EMP, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's hard for me to recognize her without fireworks and glitter.
Yeah, I can't. If there's not a Roman,
different with
Yeah, without a Roman candle coming out of her ass and her leather pants.
Now, see if you can see her back here where I have her like the pillars of Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Okay, so no, I'm sorry.
Remember when she kept specifying, I had a human.
Let me go back to that guy because I'm listening to him in my other ear.
Recognize her without fireworks and glitter.
Yeah, I can't. If there's not a Roman,
different with
Yeah, with.
Hold on.
Heinrich Himmler was the head. That is an in-group where I'm instantly entertaining this.
So now, do you know who Terrell Farnsworth was? I'm pretty sure Terrell had somebody come on talk about how
strict, because under normal circumstances, 3 weeks old. But it's a can do that I can just cover right now real fast. And guess what? I got booked to do Jimmy Dore's show February 4th. I'm extremely excited about that because Jimmy was on a very short list of shows where it means a lot when I get to do it, because between Joe Rogan Experience, Jimmy Dore, Candace Owens, that's what it is. And so Jimmy, I have so much respect for this fucking guy, man. I've always loved this dude. And yeah, so what we're gonna do right now is, obviously I've been covering the kind of Tyler Robinson side of the story extensively, and someone sent me this video this morning. It's 3 weeks old, but it's too sketchy. Tyler Robinson's defense team has ties to TPUSA insiders. I'm like, no way. No way. Don't start giving me the ability to actually buy into the most extreme version of this conspiracy, because I will do it. I will believe it. As this thing just continues to shake itself out, you know what I mean? Like, I'm open to everything now. So we're gonna watch this together. I have not seen this. I don't even know what this is referencing. And he's reacted to Project Constitution's post. He is the one who was responsible for putting my video on X, which then Jimmy Dore saw, and then he played on his show, and then now I'm doing a show, and so hopefully I can pay that back. Project Constitution, great X account, except when he attacked my friend Nate. So I just have to give that like a little asterisk, because under normal circumstances, when people, mess around with my friends, I get mad. But nonetheless, he did me a really good, he did me a huge solid here. So go follow him. He has a bunch of stuff. If you're into the conspiracies, that's your guy on X.
How can Tyler get a fair trial when his own lawyer is tied to suspects who controlled audio, cameras, and the evidence?
Excellent question. How can anyone get to watch my videos if they have not subscribed to the channel, when everybody knows that is the prerequisite for watching my content? Don't steal the candy. Subscribe to the channel and like the video. Appreciate you guys.
Gotcha.
Even with his defense team, we had somebody come on talk about how it was weird that the court is appointing this defense lawyer, and the defense lawyer was not interested in facts and stuff. Remember that? We had that woman on. But So here's Project Constitution, says Mormon Mafia bombshell. Terrell Farnsworth. So now, do you know who Terrell Farnsworth was? I'm pretty sure Terrell Farnsworth was the guy who took the SD cards out of the camera. And then, could you look it up as if that was who he was? I'm pretty sure that's who he was.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure.
I'm not. I don't feel like entertaining this part like that. Let me get to Candace. Hold on.
And so they're ignoring their gut.
This was an interview that she did with Myron.
Salesforce is an incredibly important and strategic investment for Indeed.
It was sort of a light bulb.
Obviously, we're in the modern day age. Things have changed quite a bit where we're at, right? So it's been a while since we last spoke. Last time you were on, I remember we did After Hours where you were saving a few women's lives. And I did want to tell you this on camera. One of the girls that you spoke to actually quit OnlyFans on that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people think that, I guess, those conversations are not worth it, or the show is all theater. But for me, I want to sit across from these young women because anybody's life could have ended that way. You know what I mean? Like, I could have ended up being one of these OnlyFans girls if there weren't so many, life interventions, because it's just being sold to women so much that this is the easy way out. You know what I mean? So...
Yeah, but I wanted to make sure I told you that, on camera, that she literally quit not too long after you did that show. So that's great, saving lives. So kind of with that, I saw that you did a debate on Jubilee with a bunch of feminists. Obviously, we're in the modern day age. Things have changed quite a bit. We've both been pretty critical of feminism, but I think with what you're doing, you're able to really reach a demographic of women that just guys like me and Andrew Tate and others just aren't going to reach, because we're abrasive in the way that we get it. So they might want.
It sounds like they just wanted all men on Earth so they can beat them and attack them and rape them.
Now, how do you see feminism today with young women, and then what do you predict is going to happen in the next 5-10 years? Are we getting better? Is it getting worse? What are your thoughts in general on that?
So I was actually very interested in Tate culture, as I'm going to call it. So I'm going to put you in that orbit of Tate culture, all of these male influencers that were coming out and calling girls bitchs and hoes and all this stuff, and people sat back and were like, oh my god, this is horrible, whatever. But I'm like, wait a second, whatever you think about him, whatever you think about Tristan, whatever you think about Myron, this culture got very big very quickly, and there's got to be something there, right? There has to be. So that was the reason why I flew out to meet Andrew Tate. There was all these conspiracies that I knew him before, and all. I met Andrew a total of 2 times before I did his show. My husband hung out with him maybe 3 times in his life before him and I met. He was actually friends with PJW. And that's how I met Andrew.
Gotcha.
Like, so my husband was actually friends with PJW. And I just wanted to know what it was. I'm never a person that will dismiss something on its face and call it a name. Like, there has to be some substance here. And what was actually happening was you got Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate and you got Myron Gaines because you perpetuated a culture of Lena Dunham's, right? So you're acting like men just got tired of it, is what happened. And finally, men looked around and somebody stood up and said, it's actually okay to be a man and you don't have to listen to any of these women. Now, you may have like how they said it. They were doing this on top of Lamborghinis. But the reality is that what sat on a toxic culture where women were giving the terms to men, and every time a man did something that actually felt natural to them, that toxic masculinity, and books were written, and Lena Dunham's writing articles, and show about this, and Lena Dunham's naked on Instagram. I wrote a whole chapter about Lena Dunham in my book. And she's naked on Instagram, and she's lecturing you if you don't want to see her, you know, overweight, naked, and tatted up. So you can't blame the culture, Tate culture, until you are ready to address where this actually came from, which was women constantly bashing men over the head and telling them that masculinity, full stop, was wrong.
Given the problems that we have, you know, obviously, whether it's me or Tate or other people, will kind of come in and say, hey, this is what you need to do as a guy. You know, this is how the modern day marketplace is now when it comes to dating. What's your approach to kind of combating this problem from a female perspective?
First, you have to understand the origin of feminism, right? You have to understand that this was not a culture and an ideology that came because they wanted women to have equal rights with men, okay? This was a CIA-sponsored PSYOP. Gloria Steinem was sponsored by the CIA, okay? These protests were sponsored by men in government. A lot of them homosexual, actually. And the reason for that was simply because they wanted to tax, it was actually twofold, I would say. They wanted to tax household income both ways. And also they wanted women to, instead of focusing on their kids, which comes natural to women, right? To be the quote-unquote, like I say, CEO of the household. They wanted to remove that and to have the children given to the government for 6 hours a day. Beyond 6 hours a day, 6 hours a day, plus whatever sports activities, which gives the government full control over the minds of the children. This came straight from the Pale of Settlement. After they assassinated the Tsar, you had these Jewish women like Emma Goldman, who came over to America. Emma Goldman was the mentor to what's her face from Planned Parenthood. I'm blanking on her name for a moment. I'm going to say Margaret Sanger. That was her mentor. And so this was, in fact, a very radical communist movement that came to America and sought to overthrow families, family institutions, strong men, feminine women, stands in the way of government and absolute control.
In your book, Make 'Em a Sandwich, what are some of the things that you tell the women? Because I'm assuming it's a book that's going to be centered around how women can kind of get in the marketplace, find a long-term partner, get married. What are some of the strategies that you tell women to implement to find a partner? You don't have to give it all away.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't even try in my book to sell them a strategy or a technique. I just tell the truth. So here's the history of feminism. Here's what we were told in school. Here's actually how it went down, right? Knowledge is power. I give them the actual statistics of the fact that what was sold to you was you were going to be just like a man and you were going to be happier. Women are actually more miserable than they've ever been. If you go back and you ask most women about their
they have CIA agents teaching, misleading
what they actually sold
educational
to you. Now you've achieved this equality, quote unquote equality, and women have never been more miserable, and women are popping more pills than they were popping, and finding it harder to find a partner and wondering why. Well, it's because you attacked natural masculinity. You told men that they shouldn't be allowed to lead. Women have to lead, and actually, you didn't want that, right? You were convinced psychologically in a classroom, as I was back when I wanted to be a feminist, or I thought feminism was cool, and you should know that. I think that that's how you change things without trying to say, here's a strategy and here's how we're going to move forward. Let people know true knowledge, let people know true history, and I think the rest of the stuff happens naturally, or I hope.
For you on your journey, when did you, figure out that feminism was a lie? Was there a certain event that triggered it that you were like, holy crap, this is BS?
I actually tell the story in this book. I think I do, actually. I think it's in this book, or it's in my last book, actually. It's in Blackout, of this teacher that I had. and was required to take a Feminism 101. It was called Women's Studies. Maybe it was Women's Studies 201 at the University of Rhode Island. And at that time, I was like, yeah, I'm a feminist, of course. Who doesn't want equality as they sold it?
Yeah.
I get into this classroom, and this teacher, I realized very quickly, was not actually motivated by wanting equality. I was in a classroom where she was trying to convince me that every problem that we had in society was due to men. This was a literal class that was designed to basically teach women to hate men.
Yeah.
Like, no matter, all you had to do to get an A.
That shows. So that's great, saving lives.
Wow.
So kind of.
Feminism 101. It was called Women's Studies. Maybe it was Women's Studies 201 at the University of Rhode Island. And at that time, I was like, yeah, I'm a feminist, of course. Who doesn't want equality as they sold it?
Yeah.
I get into this classroom, and this teacher, I realized very quickly, was not actually
That's when
motivated
things
by
went wrong.
equality. I was in a
In
classroom
the
where
home.
she was trying to convince
Trying to
me
be equal.
that every problem that we had in society
Rewriting
was due to
God's
men.
word.
This was
We are
a
not
literal
equal.
class that was designed to basically teach women to hate men.
Yeah.
Like, no matter, all you had to do to get an A was she would introduce any problem. She could have lost her keys that morning and been like, why did this happen?
Patriarchy.
Well, you know what? Who designed cars? You know who designed cars? Do you know who designed the whole concept of a car key, and who designed the couch that you lost it in this morning? It became to the point where, for me, it was like laughable.
Yeah.
But there was this one particular class where it clicked for me, because when I was in college, I had an eating
Hold
disorder.
up,
So I'm sitting
Dorothy.
in her
Wait a
class.
minute. Let me read this right, because the average black woman wants her man to lead, but with compassionate towards her, for they are the team. I remember when that used to be it, but I remember the era when we became equal, and it was whatever he could do, I could do. And it became very comparative and competitive. And then we start hearing women saying, "Oh, I don't need no man. I don't need no man. I can do whatever he do." And then we started talking to him ignorant, crazy, and reminding them of how useless they are. And is that all you got? I mean, all this type of crazy stuff. And I remember, talking to some homies about that, and that's. And women will not like my take on that, because men and women are not equal. Our roles are not equal, and so it turned into, well, hell, a woman don't need a man because there's a female that can do everything a man can do. I mean, it just became, oh wow, no, and then men started staying at home watching the kids. And then all this the roles just changed. And I remember saying, I remember before all of this is coming out, I remember saying women have lost their place, and we have to remember to line it up to God's word. Now, as I am seeing how the Bible and preaching and teaching have been so whitewashed to change the narrative, everything how God had it lined up, it appears that there has been a whitewash to destroy that and change it to be opposite, knowing that it's going to fizzle away to some degree. Now, men want look for women who have those old characteristics and them old traits, because it's all out of order and out of line. Now, to say you want a man to lead, no, you don't. Most no stuff, because they want to talk, they want to pull their pants up, he can't tell me what to do. Well, if he's lined up with God and God has a divine order, when do we get out of order? Because it is Christ first, then the husband, then the wife, then the kids, then work. Any other order, when I say work, I mean your job. Any other order is out of order. And if you try to justify it and rewrite it and do whatever you want to do, make it work for you, then you are out of order and it will not work. Now, somebody gonna say, well, Auntie Fee, have you always followed that order? I'm gonna say no. No. No, I have not. But I recognize it. Yeah, so now if I know he can't lead, then why am I even gonna play with him? I don't care if his sex good. I don't care if he got loan money. If I don't think he cannot lead, then I cannot be submit. First, he has to be submissive unto God. If he is not submissive unto God, a red flag, because that means that you will not be submissive unto him. Already out of order. Bible said, man, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Do he love his wife like Christ loved the church? If that ain't the case, well, he ain't religious, or it's out of order. It's out of order. So why are we entertaining that? Why are we entertaining that? It's already out of order. All I'm saying is that it has been whitewashed enough that everything is out of order, but we look for it to work accordingly. And it's not going to work accordingly because it's out of order. Men and women are not equal. We ain't side by side. I have his back. I'm behind him. Where he falls short, I'm there to pick up. That's how that's supposed to be. We ain't equal. And I don't care if you say, well, I can do what he can do. You gotta strap on to act like. Now you acting. You acting. We ain't the same. If we was the same, we'd have came out as twins. Men have things that, and women have things where his thing fits right where it's supposed to fit naturally. And I ain't knocking nobody, because that's between you and God. I'm just saying that a lot of times we say that, but our actions don't apply. And we women can be very disrespectful and degrading when our mouth when we don't get our way. And I will say this, that some of the men we fall in love with that can slang that thing, ooh, child, he got you, ooh, wee. But everything about him is wrong except that thing. You don't think that he know that thing is lethal? Hello? So then you get out of order because that thing is lethal. All those red flags are just waving in the air, but all you can think about is that pickle that's lethal. That's some of the best pickle I done had in my life. I know he don't even love the Lord. I know we're not equally yoked, but God dang, that pickle good. You are out of order. And so what comes with that is is what those red flags was waving at you, and you looked over it. So I'm going to say this. We got to get back. If we really are sincere about this thing and we see where it's going, we see the trick of the devil that all the men and women are equal. We are not equal. That is another, what do they call it? Where they have put that out there I almost said mind up, but to manipulate the mind. To manipulate the mind. Then it was taking the men. Hell, it's beginning to make me think that they was taking these men out on purpose, like they wanted the men or something. I mean, like really? And we fell for it. Ladies, we have to take ownership of that. We fell for that. Meaning women are not equal. And we have to start lining it up with God's word, because that is the only thing that's true. I don't care who wrote it. I don't care nothing about none of that. And I would say go back to the King James before this easy reading, easy, a new and improved women version where they have went in there on purpose. On purpose. That's just my opinion. And start lining it up with God's word, because when it's all said and done, that's what's going to get you into heaven. That's what's going to get you closer to the truth. We definitely are seeing how they have manipulated on purpose, and there is an attack on God's word. So why would there be an attack on God's word if it wasn't true? Yeah.
And I was anorexic, and she gets into this topic of anorexia, eating disorders, designed the couch that you lost it in this morning. It became to the point where for me, it was like laughable.
Yeah.
But there was this one particular class where it clicked for me, because when I was in college, I had an eating disorder. So I was sitting in her class, and I was anorexic, and she gets into this topic of anorexia, eating disorders, and she gave us some statistic about the percentage of women that have eating disorders, and I'm making this up now, but it was something
right,
like
now
80%
everything
of people
went
who have
left.
eating disorders are women. And
Preaching
she asked the
to
class, why is that? And we were supposed to say, and she did say, that it was because men controlled the advertising agency and men want women to be skinny. And it had literally, I'm sitting here having this experience, nothing to do with a man. Like nothing, no man said you're fat, you have to be skinny. That is complete.
But you know what? I'm sorry, but you know what, Dorothy? I remember the era too. And I remember the it was kind of like Big Mama, Mud Deal, all your grandmama, like, they was telling you, you're a strong black woman, all that type of stuff. But what happened was Big Mama, Mud Deal, Nana, whatever name you have for, your grandparents, or that wisdom, never came back and told us how to come off of that. They empowered it. It was strong. Black woman, oh yeah, we can work. We can, you can be a mechanic. You can, build, go into construction. All these manly things, trying to compete with me, but they never told us how to come back off of that. They never taught how to be gentle. So you can't be gentle and tough like that. Men are made to go out there and do those things. They're structured, they're built. They are hunters, they are providers. And when we have to, we get in there, but slide back. We don't know how to slide back because we too strong now. We too strong-willed. We too opinionated. We all up in their face, and it kills me. And I know I'm finna make some people mad, but it kills me. Janet, put your earphones on because I know how you feel about this. But it kills me for a female to pop up on a man in his face, talking all that tough ass finger pushing heads, I fighting them and all that type of stuff. And the minute he flips and react to that manly energy, now you're a female. So you can get back into females. But a man have to be ready to rip you apart. You done popped off. I can't stand that. Females, we gotta stop that. Stop popping off in men's faces like we are dudes. And the minute shit gets serious. Oh, a man should never. No. A female should never act like a man. Let's start there. Now, I know that offends females, but that comes along with that, I could do, I'm strong, I'm this, I'm that. We equal the ba. It comes along with that. We gotta stop that. We gotta stop that. Cause I pushing point ain't they pushing point. And we shouldn't have to push men to a point where we see, oh, now we not equal. I'm a female. No, stop. Oh, so now I'm sensitive. Now my whole tone changed. Now I want Leroy to calm down. Leroy, calm down. It ain't that serious. Why, Leroy? No. Yeah, now Leroy, no, Leroy, it ain't attacking you. Leroy now is attacking that dude that was all up in his face, popping off. And I'm just going to keep it real. That's what that is. And we got to stop because there's an attack on our men. And we don't need to be playing into that. Let's go.
Completely made up, and I'm listening to her try to psychologically convince me that my eating disorder came from a man when it just factually didn't. Most people who suffer with anorexia know it's a control mechanism. It actually has nothing even to do with weight. It just is like, this is the one thing you can control. And I just kind of called her out on that, and I raised my hand. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, well, let's look at another statistic. What percentage of people are juicing up with steroids? Right? That's not a super healthy thing to do. If we said that 90% of it was men, would you have presented to the class that it was because of women, right? Because women are telling them they have to look like this. And she was, when I say she went white and she said to me, and I always tell the story on stage, she said to me, I feel like you were sent to me from the men's department.
Of course.
Yeah. And I told her.
What did she tell her?
I told her back, but I control the advertising agency and men want women to be skinny. And it had literally, I'm sitting here having this experience, nothing to do with a man. Like nothing, no man said you're fat, you have to be skinny. That is completely made up. And I'm listening to her try to psychologically convince me that my eating disorder came from a man when it just factually didn't. Most people who suffer with anorexia know it's a control mechanism. It actually has nothing even to do with weight. It just is like, this is the one thing you can control.
Equal.
And I just kind of called her out on that, and I raised my hand. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, well, let's look at another statistic. What percentage of people are juicing up with steroids, right? That's not a super healthy thing to do. If we said that 90% of it was men, would you have presented to the class that it was because of women, right? Because women are telling them they have to look like this. And she was, when I say she went white and she said to me, and I always tell the story on stage, she said to me, I feel like you were sent to me from the men's department.
Of course.
Yeah. And I told her that I told her back that I was sent to her from the common sense department.
Yeah.
And that everything couldn't be because of men. So I think that was kind of the first time that it clicked for me that this was some sort of a psychological program. In many ways, I was actually saved by...
How old were you at that point?
I was in college, 20s? So I was 19.
A lot of mental manipulation
it was
going on.
the first year of college.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a prerequisite. So it was interesting for me, I think.
Did that make you shift your priorities? Like,
I was never a gun-ho feminist. I just was like in the back of my mind, same way that I was liberal. Like I was never voting Democrat, but if you had asked me, what do you think about this? I would have very quickly been like, of course we need feminism.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of thinking, man, these women are really annoying in this classroom. Because then there were the majors that were there, you know, the people, these women that were tatted up and like growing their armpit hair out. You know, we had those people in class and I was like, I don't like any of these people. So it made me think that there was something more to the feminist movement, I think, which was indoctrination.
Interesting. Okay. So I think you've been able to do what every woman dreams of. Have a family, have children, have your dream man, but simultaneously being able to also, you know, run a business and do what you want to do. And I noticed when you were debating on Jubilee, some of them tried to say, oh, well, you're a hypocrite. You're over here talking about feminism being bad, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, you obviously have a lot of things set up where you maximize your ability to be with your family, right? You do your show, get out of there, spend time with your family. What would you say to the people that sit there and try to call you a hypocrite because, you know, you're successful in your own right, but you've been able to also balance a family, which many women can't do. They want to do it, but they can't do it. What would your response be to those critics?
First and foremost, do not allow people to rule you by exceptions. What I mean by that is it is such a mistake to look at my life and to say, Candace did this, and so therefore I can do this. My life is actually exceptional, right? We are sitting in my house. I do things on my own terms. I wake up in the morning. I get to homeschool my kids, right? I'm homeschooling my children for hours. That's now very important to me. I get to do a
because you know that they're
podcast from
intentionally
home, and I am actually doing
manipulating
something that
kids.
I enjoy, right? What is the number one thing? If you find any woman that makes it and she's successful, what is she doing? She's tapping into her femininity, communication. Women communicate more than men. I have a whole chapter on this. If you have a daughter and a son, you know this. Girls start speaking faster, and we will speak more words from men for the rest of our lives. And when you actually look, and I ask people in this chapter,
So far, within what, we're 11 months in roughly, what would you say?
so I would say I'm biased. So if you're asked, day in and day out, Kash Patel, and on the basis of who is now supporting him, the literal Never Trump movement.
What feminism is and how it can.
Feminism, I think. I think once you know that, everything, like knowledge is.
Finish off with the feminism real quick. So, what do you think are the top 3 things holding women back from fulfillment and happiness right now?
The number one thing I would say that's holding women back would be not understanding the history of feminism. I think once you know that, everything,
Not having
like,
God
knowledge
full
is
in their
actually
life.
power. I would say the second thing that's holding them back is the psychology of peer pressure. And that is
Thinking
the
that
psychology
God
and the peer
word
pressure
can
starts
be
when we are
altered
in school.
according
with
to what
women
they
being
got
told,
going
you have
on.
to go
That's
to college, you have
everybody.
to have a career. The last thing you should be thinking about, you have plenty of time. You don't actually have plenty of time. Biologically speaking, you literally don't have plenty of time. Men might have plenty of time, biologically speaking, but your body is telling you you don't. And so I think, and then that kind of gets into the education. The education system truly is just Soviet propaganda in the classrooms. So those would be the top 2 things. And so they're ignoring their gut instinct and following the herd.
So understanding what feminism is and how it came into place makes it a lot easier to understand everything else. All right, fair enough. What do you think so far about this switch in politics? What do you think so far about this administration with Trump?
Look at
Good,
that.
bad, the ugly.
Sad. Honestly, the first thing that I would say is that it makes me sad because obviously I spent a lot of time helping Trump get elected, trying to help Trump get elected, and Trump is...
I see a photo right here, yeah.
Yeah, he's a part of my political story, right? A part of my political awakening, if you want to call it that. And it feels to me like when he said, what Epstein files, Are we still talking about the Epstein files? It was just like we were so close. We did everything we could. And we were supposed to be fighting a swamp. And then what happened? The Loch Ness Monster, which is Israel, rose up and swallowed our hero whole. So it makes me sad, and I think we all can very clearly see what has happened on the basis of who is now supporting him. The literal Never Trump movement is now supporting Trump and telling us that we're radicals, the people who initially supported Trump. So there's been a complete flip, and they're trying to use this mechanism of psychology to convince us, oh, we just got here, but we noticed this rot, which is the original MAGA movement. It's completely ridiculous. Their tactics aren't working, but I think it also indicates to us that there is something very scary and sinister that is in DC, right? That turns good men, it petrifies good men that go in maybe with the best of intentions, and then they see something else. What happens to these people? We don't know. Where is, day in and day out, Kash Patel and Dan were saying, we're going to do this, we get the FBI. Now they look petrified. Actually. There's nothing here, actually, to see about these Epstein files. What are you talking about? You kind of made your show off of what we need to happen with the Epstein files. So it's sad.
So if you were to rate them, because people have asked me this question, so now I get to ask someone else. What grade would you give them right now at this point, based on, obviously the Epstein files, I agree with you, it's a huge debacle. It's going to probably be a huge negative in his legacy at the end of the day. If you had to grade his presidency so far within, we're 11 months in roughly, what would you say?
So I would say I'm biased. So if you're asking me to grade, you know how you would have those teachers where if you would take a test and they would automatically flunk you if you didn't put your name on the paper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Epstein thing for me is automatic flunk if you don't put your name on the paper, right?
Gotcha.
So I'm a mom now, so this was the most important thing to me, was figuring out where the pedophiles are in our society. And
That was your number one voting.
that this for me,
Yeah,
like
okay.
becoming a mother, because you have to remember Epstein. I did a partial series, a mini series on what we discovered about him. He just got pulled to the ranks, right? Bankrupted Americans. Same thing with the Maxwell family. Bankrupted people in England, and was allowed to do this. He had absolutely no background. He was given access to children. He had an office on Harvard campus despite only having a high school diploma, which I can't even verify his high school diploma, if I'm being honest with you. And this was going to show us everything. He had access to Hollywood. He was working with Weinstein. He had some notorious fight with Harvey Weinstein right before Harvey went down. So now I'm kind of going back in my mind and thinking that's a question I should probably ask Harvey Weinstein, is what they were fighting about. And he had access to models. I mean, this man was just handed the keys to Les Wexner's empire, which even how that empire started has got a shady story with a guy who said that Les Wexner was a literal devil. He was the guy who controlled Victoria's Secret. He said, this man is evil. And then suddenly that guy jumps off the Golden Gate Bridge and decides to give his company to Les Wexner. That doesn't really make sense. So we had this rare opportunity to really understand how the Matrix was put together, in my view. And Trump took us to this line and then balked. And I'm not sure why he did, okay? Maybe it's because he almost survived his assassination attempt. He survived his assassination attempt.
Yeah, two of them.
Two of them. And maybe they put him in a room and said, here's how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try not to judge him because I don't know what he is going through. But for me, the Epstein files was a name on the paper.
So, what are your thoughts on the current news? Because it just resurfaced again. They're, in the process right now of getting everything classified. I understand that there were a bunch of emails that came out. And it's coming back up again. I can tell because I'm seeing nothing but CNN clips on it. Anytime they love to hit Trump when it comes to this Epstein thing.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the latest information that came out recently with the emails and everything else like that?
When he initially balked on discussing Epstein and Pam Bondi, did the whole crazy bit, I was told that it was because there was donors he was protecting, and that makes sense to me. I have never felt, and I'm a pretty good vibe person, Trump about him, he just got pulled to the ranks, right? Bankrupted Americans, same thing with the Maxwell family, bankrupted people in England, and was allowed to do this. He had absolutely no background. He was given access to children. He had an office on Harvard campus despite only having a high school diploma, which I can't even verify his high school diploma, if I'm being honest with you. And
so far, we're 11 months in roughly. What would you say?
so I would say I'm biased. So if you're asking me to grade, you know how you would have those teachers where if you would take a test and they would automatically flunk you if you didn't put your name on the paper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Epstein thing for me is like automatic flunk if you don't put your name on the paper, right?
Gotcha.
So if I'm a mom now, so this was the most important thing to me, was figuring out where the pedophiles are in our society. And
that was your number one voting.
That this for me, becoming a mother, because you have to remember Epstein. I did a partial series, a mini series on what we discovered about him. He just got pulled to the ranks, right? Bankrupted Americans. Same thing with the Maxwell family. Bankrupted people in England, and was allowed to do this. He had absolutely no background. He was given access to children. He had an office on Harvard campus despite only having a high school diploma, which I can't even verify his high school diploma, if I'm being honest with you. And this was going to show us everything. He had access to Hollywood. He was working with Weinstein. He had some notorious fight with Harvey Weinstein right before Harvey went down. So now I'm kind of going back in my mind and thinking that's a question I should probably ask Harvey Weinstein, is what they were fighting about. And
if
he had
turned
access
on
to models. I mean, this man was just handed the keys to Les Wexner's empire, which even how that empire started has got a shady story with a guy who said that Les Wexner was a literal devil. He was the guy who controlled Victoria's Secret. He said, this man is evil. And then suddenly that guy jumps off the Golden Gate Bridge and decides to give his company to Les Wexner. That doesn't really make sense. So we had this rare opportunity to really understand how the Matrix was put together, in my view.
The Matrix.
And Trump took us to this line and then balked. And I'm not sure why he did, okay? Maybe it's because he almost survived his assassination attempt. He survived his assassination attempt.
Yeah, two of them.
Two of them. And maybe they put him in a room and said, here's how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try not to judge him because I don't know what he is going through. But for me, the Epstein files was a name on the paper.
So, what are your thoughts on the current news? Because it just resurfaced again. They're, in the process right now of getting everything classified. I understand that there were a bunch of emails that came out. And it's coming back up again. I can tell because I'm seeing nothing but CNN clips on it. Anytime they love to hit Trump when it comes to this Epstein thing. What are your thoughts on the latest information that came out recently with emails and everything else like that?
When he initially balked on discussing Epstein and Pam Bondi, did the whole crazy bit, I was told that it was because there was donors he was protecting, and that makes sense to me. I have never felt,
political
and I'm
people.
a pretty good vibe person. Trump's not into kids, right? So the nature of the emails was
Rita,
he
what
at a
you talking
party
about?
when people should just think about that. When people say, "Oh, they exchange," like he was on his plane. Never on the
Rita,
island, but, like, was
what are
on
you
the
talking
plane,
about?
Or was at a party. If you were at a, you live in Miami. If you were at a party, the idea that somebody could be at any club that you are at or any party that you are at has somebody that's underage and looks like she could be 18, and that doesn't really track to me as any evidence of anything other than the fact that he was at a party once and Jeffrey Epstein was very clearly running a sophisticated network and a blackmail ring. So I don't think that whatever they have on Epstein with Trump and Epstein is going to implicate Trump in any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been around him. Trump has a type, and I have never felt that vibe from him.
She was
at all.
asked the question, what was she supposed to do, Rita? Let me take my earpiece out for this. She was asked the question, what was she supposed to do? She's smart, she's intelligent, she was a part of his organization. What the fuck was she supposed to do? She's not Trump. You asked him a question, he deflects. She's a woman enough to stand up in and answer a question. So what the hell was she supposed to do, Rita? I guess you want the victims to stop talking about Trump as well. Huh? Rita. We're waiting on you, Rita. Speak up. So do you want the victims to stop talking about Trump as well? Trump. Oh, well, now you finna have Sasha. That's a male. And he goes in not just on Trump, but the judge and congressman as well. You want everybody to stop talking about Trump because he is a PDFer. He violates. And we gonna talk about him. And if you don't want to hear about him, I suggest you leave. Leave. Remove yourself. Let me help you. Anybody else need help being removed? Nobody gonna skip and hop around a PDFer. I'm not. I'm gonna talk about him. I'm gonna laugh at him. He a clown. And anybody who support that are a part of the circus. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Let me back it up, since you wanted to interrupt what she was saying about Trump.
She could be 18, and that doesn't really track to me as any evidence of anything other than the fact that he was at a party once and Jeffrey Epstein was very clearly running a sophisticated network and a blackmail ring. So I don't think that whatever they have on Epstein with Trump and Epstein is going to implicate Trump in any of that stuff. Yeah. And I've been around him. Trump has a type, and I have never felt that vibe from him at all.
Oh, baby, you got that wrong.
I do think he's protecting some of his owners. I do believe that.
Well, I'm sorry. This time we don't agree, respectfully, because he up in there, and he was a leader. He protecting his friends, all right. He protecting the people who let his little manipulative practices, side deals and hustles and breaking the law because that they the ones that let it pass on through. Because they got things on each other. Oh, yeah, boo. He up in there. And Sasha Riley gonna blow the roof off of the whole thing. Yeah.
Which creeped me out. And he took a lot of money from Miriam Adelson, the Adelson family, hundreds of millions of dollars from Miriam Adelson.
He like men and he got a type with men and women.
Everything. So when they started leaking these emails, I read it as like a public threat to him. Maybe they're arguing about something in the background and he's holding the line on something. So because they obviously have all the Epstein stuff. He was their blackmail guy, you know? And so if people don't listen, they probably do a little trickle. That's how I read it. I read it as like a public threat and they want something from him and they're going to be like, capitulate or we will hit you with everything they have. And we need to have a leader that says,
I disagree with her too.
And says, they have this about me. They've been threatening me with it. I'm going to tell them to release everything and I'm going to hold the line. People would.
But she was diehard Trump supporter. So she believed she was a Zionist. So she believed in it. She fell for the banana in the tailpipe to some degree. Now, have she pulled out? Yes. But she still believed him. She feels like he has changed. I believe his mask has fallen off. I believe he done got so old and sick with whatever sickness he have. Hell, he done forgot that he had a mask on. I believe who we are seeing is who he's always been now that his mask is off. Hell, he can't find it. He don't even remember what he said 3-4 months ago. You know he don't remember no damn mask. Yeah, but she's been fooled by him before. And as we're hearing, Donald Trump been this way for a very long time. The truth is absolutely coming out. He talking about 89 is when he rammed the pole up his butt. Oh yeah, no, it's no.
Cheer. People would cheer. We wouldn't even care. We'd be like, okay, like as long as you're not implicated in harming children, right? I can deal with you being at a.
Oh, wait till she have to investigate that. Once she really investigate it with Charlie Kirk, well, it ain't no if. Yeah, because Erika is endorsing Diggs. And Charlie Kirk's foster daddy is in them Epstein files. And he was 10 when he had sex. I mean, when he was raped by Diggs and Trump. She has not gone that deep yet. No, she hasn't, Janet. But Lord in heaven knows, baby, when it explodes, it is going to explode. Let's go.
Party that Epstein was at and finding out that whatever it is that they have on you. That's my gut instinct about the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you though. I think I don't. He doesn't give me the vibe that he's like doing that type of thing with children. But I do think that maybe there's something in there that looks really bad optically, and that might be why, or to protect donors, like you said. Because I look at it like if there was something really bad like that,
I don't know when y'all recorded
the Democrats would have
this.
exposed that during the Biden administration if there really was. So, that's another thing as well.
All right, you guys, if your credit card balance is freaking you out after all of the holiday spending, I have something that can save you. You are looking to make order. Again, that's Riverbend Ranch.
Had a meteoric rise. Congratulations. Meanwhile, your opposition, Ben Shapiro, has had a meteoric downfall. Can you kind of take me through that day of what happened?
Yeah, but they believe the hype, y'all.
Because I remember you had been in Miami for a bit, and then I think you might have went back.
It's coming though.
For like a day or two, and then they said, "Hey, we're gonna get rid of you." Blah blah blah. Can you kind of take me through how that all transpired and how you've been able to kind of use that cancellation from their perspective to just utterly destroy them and flip the roles
So, gosh, I was fired in, what was it, March of 2024, and I obviously was very surprised about it. I did not know it was coming. Look, even if I sensed it was coming, I would have never have thought that it would have happened in the way that it happened. I would have thought that we would do everything that we can to keep things friendly. I mean, you don't want to work for any company. It's just unprofessional to want to work, to dedicate
When did she
years of your
stop
life
working
to
with
any
Trump,
company and
though?
not have things,
She
even if
was
they're
in
not
Trump
on great
camp
terms, you still want to make it as
before
peaceful as
his-
possible.
Yeah,
reported,
she
and I have
was.
to ask
Yeah.
you this because I've always been wanting to ask you this. They reported that one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of you is because you did the show with us, and when we talked about Jews, we hit the sound effect, the cha-ching sound effect, and that, I guess, that infuriated Ben Shapiro. Is that true, or?
I know where that leak came from.
Okay.
And it came, gosh, am I allowed to say anything about this? She no longer works for the Daily Wire, and I think she was behind that leak. Yeah, so she no longer works for the Daily Wire. So that was interesting.
Y'all hit the three dots at the top right.
Or deny whether or not that is true.
Okay.
But what I will say is I would have never expected that sort of a PR. I mean, it's just the opposite of the way that I am. I mean, I've worked with several companies. I've worked with PragerU. I have obviously a lot of disagreements with them now. But I had a very peaceful working relationship with them. They treated me fantastically. I've said it 1,000 times. Like, when I think about them now and what their contributions are to what we're fighting, I could never go back and say like one bad word about how they treated me. They were really good employers and very communicative. I ever had an issue. I mean, I think my contract with PragerU was like 2 pages. I'm not even kidding. It was crazy. Marissa never even wanted to talk about contracts. She's like, if we ever have to talk about the contract, she was like, you should probably leave because like I don't want you here if you're not happy.
Yeah.
Obviously had a very great relationship with Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA. So for me, having never had any sort of a debacle ever in my life, in terms of working for people, it was new, it was global, there was so much happening, and I didn't know if we were going to survive it. Genuinely, my husband and I, it felt like it's like trench warfare. Your every move, you're not even thinking about the implications. It's like, I just have to put one foot in front of the other and fight. And I first and foremost just grateful to God that my husband was just rock solid. I think if my husband had shown even a fraction of apprehension, fear, anything, I probably would have come apart. And this again gets back to the importance of marriage, because there are things that men are designed to deal with, women are designed. Like I was good on the psychology games of what they were trying to do, but in terms of just getting down and building the infrastructure and like, okay, we need to rebuild the podcast, we gotta do this, we gotta figure this out. We laugh now. I mean, even because my team came with me, which was something that was also a huge blessing. I'm so grateful to my team, because I went to them and I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. We can't offer you health insurance. We have nothing. So if you leave the comfort of where you are taking a risk.
Yeah.
And we don't know where this thing is going to end. And also we're like being banned from society. Also, so the chances of this podcast working when we're banned from everywhere, even YouTube demonetized us. It was slim to none. And they were just like, we're coming with you. So to look back on that, it's just a tremendous amount of gratitude and appreciation for the audience, my team, and first and foremost, my husband,
So he helped you through that process? Because I remember, like, it was all over the place, and obviously there was an enormous amount of pressure, but you were able to use that to your favor. You get let go from Daily Wire, you start up your own thing, and obviously this topic is a very controversial topic when it comes to Zionism, Jewish power, and these other things, and it led to some things. What red pilled you on this topic that made you say, I got to speak up? Even though this is a very taboo topic, you can get, like you said, deal with demonetization, cancellation, losing an employer. What made you say, I got to speak up on this?
I want to get into heaven. And I think people don't realize that that's real. Like, I think people who are atheists don't understand that a part of this whole psych operation was to make you an atheist. Because if you knew certain that when you die, there is more, which there is, you would be living your life differently, right? I want to get into heaven.
Make you to convert
at the very
Christians.
moment that I know anything is true. Appreciation for the audience, my team, and first and foremost, my husband.
So he helped you through that process? Because I remember, like, it was all over the place, and obviously there was an enormous amount of pressure, but you were able to use
It's
that to your favor.
to convert
you get let
you.
go from Daily Wire.
This
You
is
start up
going
your
to
own
be a
thing.
bad year for Trump.
And
Absolutely,
obviously this
Monty
topic is a
Trucker.
very controversial topic when it comes to Zionism, Jewish power, and these other things. And it led to some things. What red pilled you on this topic that made you say, I got to speak up? Even though this is a very taboo topic, you can get, like you said, deal with demonetization, cancellation,
Joseph.
losing an employer. What made you say, I got to speak up on this?
I want to get into heaven. And I think people don't realize that that's real. Like, I think people who are atheists don't understand that a part of this whole psych operation was to make you an atheist. Because if you knew for certain that when you die, there is more, which there is, you would be living your life differently, right? I want to get into heaven. And so at the very moment that I know anything is true, I can't tell a lie, right? So when I was working, and giving the example again for PragerU, I genuinely, first off, wasn't up on the topic of Israel. It wasn't kind of a common discussion. There was no pressure on me to get out there and say things that are pro-Israel. I just genuinely believed it in the same way that I tell people, Charlie Kirk just believed it. There's no conspiracy. He just was like, yeah, Israel, I'm a Christian, and obviously Israel has biblical connotations, and so I support Israel almost like it's a periphery.
Yeah, it's like
in
a default setting.
Yeah, it's a default setting. Yeah,
literally, yeah, in the
factory
GOP
setting.
Yeah,
and people who attack that and assume that everyone's in on an agenda should stop doing that. At the moment that it kind of became and I would say after October 7th, they were kind of demanding that you take a side. I watched Bassem Youssef. This was truly the mental turning point for me. He went on to Piers Morgan and it went viral. And he held up this paper where he showed how many deaths there were every year of Palestinians versus Israelis. And I will never unsee that. And he was being totally a jackass about it, was just kind of using humor, which is the best tool, and being like, so what's the equation of how many lives are worth? So I'm going, okay, so I'm supposed to believe these are the evil people, but this is how many people. And then I had Norm Finkelstein on my show at the Daily Wire because I was like, let me go to someone who actually is not an anti-Semite, right? His parents survived the Holocaust, and he's a professor who was denied tenure for a ridiculous reason because he's committed to telling the truth about Gaza, and he wrote so many books on it. And that, to me, was like, wow.
So that, like, red-pilled you on the topic, like, seeing the deaths and everything, because no one ever sees, like, the Palestinian perspective, because it's, like, almost, like, in America, well, especially if you're a conservative, the default setting is we support Israel unequivocally every single time, and you never even hear the other perspective. So, and I've said that too, like October 7th kind of opened up this discussion, whereas like I remember before it, like if you talked about it, you would get demonetized, banned. That's what got me demonetized was that topic, especially before October 7th. So you start talking about it. I remember you had debated
saying House Democrats are only 5 votes away from impeaching Trump ahead of the March 31st deadline.
I have to remember his name. He was my favorite. Candace. This is the worst anti-Semitism. He actually was low-key my favorite because he was so over the top.
Oh, yeah.
He was so over the top, and he was like, you can't even say, what was it, witches? Skylar, what was the name of that rabbi? Barclay, Rabbi Barclay. That was his name.
And I think that was one of your last debates you did on Daily Wire too. I think you were still on the Daily Wire there. Did Ben ever like have a conversation with you about this? If you could disclose it, like no. he just like never talked to you in person about this. He just like trashed you. Because I remember seeing a clip of him like at some type of social gathering, like late in the year of that year, saying, "Oh yeah, I think what she's doing is despicable, blah blah blah." But he had never had a conversation with you.
No, and after that, we never had a conversation.
Wow.
So that happened, and that's. We never had a conversation after that. So
he didn't even have the decency to like figure out, hey, what's going on here, have a conversation. You're just like,
I tried. Yeah. It never happened. So.
Wow. Okay. So you got banned from Australia, right? You got banned from Australia.
It's a gangster.
Yeah. Almost, and I was like,
super bad.
Because people try to tell me like. Because I talk about world Jewry being a thing and how, it's an international cabal that works together, for the betterment of Israel, and they're located all across the world. And I use that example of how they got you literally banned in Australia, even though they represent like 2% of the population. How did that even happen? Like, how'd you get notified? Like, yeah, how'd that even come about?
I was going to tour in Australia, and the Zionist lobby found out, and they publicly posted, it was like the Zionist Organization of Australia, maybe it was ZOA, publicly posted this thing.
Like their equivalent of APAC, right? Essentially.
Yeah, it's another APAC. There's so many of Zionist organizations. And I will say, on the conservative side of Australia, the Jewish conservatives did also write a letter in support of me saying, like, we disagree with her, but she should be allowed to speak. But they were effectively the ADL, and they posted this thing and publicly said that I should not be allowed in. My rhetoric was dangerous. They lied and said that I said that.
And then they contacted Trump that same day.
That Jews drink the blood of children, which was just like completely.
The blood libel?
It was unbelievable. I mean, the way that came about was me liking a tweet, literally a like of a tweet of a person who called out Rabbi Shmuley and said Rabbi Shmuley had told a huge lie about me. So they were replying to Rabbi Shmuley and said, you didn't include that she, and then like told the truth about what I said. And then they ended their thing with, are you drunk on Christian blood again? So me liking this tweet,
yeah.
They went full media press corps. I mean,
blood of Jesus.
Candace says, I'm like,
absolutely.
So obvious
get drunk on the blood of Jesus. Absolutely. Because the blood still works. So if it's any blood, yeah, it needs to be the Christian blood, the blood of Jesus. Absolutely. Yes. The blood of the Lord. Yes.
Like this person debunked Rabbi Shmuley's lie, but this is how they lie.
Yeah.
This is how they lie.
And they take everything literal.
They take
Even
everything
if it's
literally
or whatever. It's like, oh, look at you, vile anti-Semite.
Yeah, and I'm like, obviously, like this week he defended, he pointed out
that can't handle their truth.
Lie that had nothing to do with anything. Yeah, he said that my followers threatened to kill him or something very serious, and he was like, you're showing this inbox.
And didn't he try to sue you for that?
No, he threatened to sue.
Okay.
And so yeah, it was
375 million was transferred to Epstein's account. Hold on, I gotta shift gears. Yeah, the blood still works, boo boo. If it's any blood, you better grab onto the blood of the Lamb. Donald Trump nephew tells. Hold on. Hold on. I'm finna get ready to get up off here. What time? It ain't even 10 o'clock yet. Oh, I'm doing good. Let me do this one first. Okay, Democrat investigate blows lid off shocking Epstein payment. It better not be from Trump. But let's look at this first.
Faces we never see, just props in the side.
Hold on.
Not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it intentionally when I was pregnant. Hid. Not because I was embarrassed. Not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private. But if we
she hid
intentionally when I was pregnant. Hid. Not because I was embarrassed. Not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private. But because it was a moment very sacred. Intentionally when I was pregnant. Hid. Not because I was embarrassed. Not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private, but because it was a moment very sacred.
She hid.
Intentionally when I was pregnant. Hid. Not because I was embarrassed. Not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private, but because it was a moment very sacred.
She hid. Miss always out in front.
Whose kids are these? Erika Kirk provided this as proof of where she was September 9th.
We already know Erika Kirk has a habit of lying about the most random things. She lied about never dating before Charlie. She lied about not drinking alcohol.
Liar, isn't
but
she?
Lying about your children.
She's a habitual liar.
Whose kids are these? Erika Kirk provided this as proof of where she was September 9th.
We already know Erika Kirk has a habit of lying about the most random things. She lied about never dating before Charlie. She lied about not drinking alcohol. But lying about your children and faking your pregnancy, That's a whole different level. That's not just messy, that's dark. So is Erika just a cold, heartless person? Or this is all one huge psyop, and Erika is playing a role someone else wrote for her?
Yep.
Well, according to Erika's estranged half-sister, Tanya Segrist,
She is playing a
little
role.
pregnancy. That's a whole different level. That's not just messy, that's dark.
A
So
whole
is Erika just a
role.
cold, heartless person? Or this is all one huge psyop, and Erika is playing a role someone else wrote for her? Well, according to Erika's estranged...
It say the CIA. Let me back up a little bit. Yeah. Leaked Turn Upon USA docs exposed Erika Kirk as a CIA handler. Ordered Charlie's assassination. Oh, Lord. The truth is coming. Well, we got to demask these people. Demask these evil people, baby. You know, baby, fall in love with real people, not these fake ones that's masked up.
Role someone else wrote for her? Well, according to Erika's estranged half-sister, Tanya Segrist, it might be a little bit of both. Because Tanya is alleging something absolutely wild. That Erika faked her pregnancies and doesn't have any biological children at all. Now I know that sounds insane, but everything about Erika's story is insane.
It don't sound insane to me. Do it sound insane to y'all?
Pregnancies and doesn't have any biological children at because Tanya is alleging something absolutely wild.
She said, whoa.
Tanya Segrist, it might be a little bit of both. Because Tanya is alleging something absolutely wild. That Erika faked her pregnancies and doesn't have any biological children at all. Now I know that sounds insane, but everything about Erika's story is insane, and we really can't put anything past these alleged deep state actors. Think about it. There are no photos of Erika pregnant except that one sketchy and doesn't have any biological children at all. Now I know that sounds insane, but everything about Erika's story is insane, and we really can't put anything past these alleged deep state actors. Think about it. There are no photos of Erika pregnant except that one sketchy clip of her getting an ultrasound, and we'll get into why this is sketchy later on in the video. Now, Erika claims no one's seen her pregnancy because she went into hiding for privacy reasons. Really? Privacy? From Erika Kirk? This is the same woman who filmed herself crying over her dead husband's body and posted it on Instagram.
Right.
She allowed merchandise to be sold at his funeral. She put a replica of the tent where he was assassinated and charged people to take selfies with it. And she expects us to believe she disappeared for 9 months for privacy reasons twice?
Nelly.
And not a single photo exists? So now the question becomes,
They're
are
gonna
those
have
two
some
kids
fake ones.
whose faces we never see
Romania.
just props in the psyop? And where does Charlie fit into this? Was he in on it, or was he completely fooled? Well, it looks like Erika's half-sister might have some answers, so let's get into it.
Oh, Lord.
I said, if ever you want to talk to Daddy, you just look up to the
Faces we never see.
What do y'all think? Was he in on it, or was he fooled? Oh, my God. Was he in on it, or was he fooled? I'm going to let y'all, I'll put it in the comment section. Was he in on it, or was he fooled? Sorry. I had the wrong charger on the wrong device. Oh, excuse me. Her ex-boyfriend, what? Okay. Sorry. I'm back. I'm not going to be here long. I'm back. Let me put it here. Who kissed another man while running? What y'all talking about? Lord. I'm trying to get back at y'all talking about I kissed a man and he liked it. Wait, what? Let me see. I lost you. Yeah, it went out on me. I had it hooked up. It was the juice. I'm here though. I'm back. Erika appeared in CIA video. Yeah, we know that one. Erika is scarier than you know. Her sister now, her half sister. How she got a half sister? I thought her parents been together the whole time.
Twice, and not a single photo exists?
Y'all ready? J.D. Vance and Erika sitting in the tree. Kissing. Let's go.
For privacy reasons, he put a replica of the tent where he was assassinated and charged people to take selfies with it. And she expects us to believe she disappeared for 9 months. Same woman who filmed herself. One sketchy clip of her getting an ultrasound, and we'll get into why this is sketchy later on in the video. Now, Erika claims no one's seen her pregnancy because she went into hiding for privacy reasons. Really? Privacy? From Erika Kirk? This is the same woman who filmed herself crying over her dead husband's body and posted it on Instagram. She allowed merchandise to be sold at his funeral.
We don't believe you.
She put a replica of the tent where he was assassinated and charged people to take selfies with it. And she expects us to believe she disappeared for 9 months for privacy reasons twice, and not a single photo exists. So now the question becomes, are those two kids whose faces we never see just props in the psyop? And where does Charlie fit into this? Was he in on it, or was he completely fooled? Well, it looks like
that's where I stopped. Was he in on it? So what do y'all think? That's where I stopped. Was he in on it, or was he totally shocked? Did he know who and what he was marrying and who was working for CIA? Was he in on it, or was he shocked? What y'all think? Was he in on it, or was he shocked? Y'all not gonna talk? I think he was shocked.
Was he in on it, or was he completely fooled? Well, it looks like Erika's half-sister might have some answers, so let's get into it.
And I said, if ever you want to talk to Daddy, you just look up to the sky and start talking to him. He can hear you.
She's acting.
It's always me.
All right, let's first talk about Erika's half-sister. And this is brand new information that just came out. First of all, Erika has never mentioned having a half-sister, which already tells you something. And from everything we can see, they're completely estranged. But here's the key point. All right, let's first talk about Erika's half-sister. And this is brand new information that just came out. First of all, Erika has never mentioned having a half-sister, which already tells you something. And from everything we can see, they're completely estranged. But here's the key point. This half-sister isn't some internet rumor. She's real. And we know that for a fact because the paperwork exists. Divorce documents from Erika's mother, Lori Francie, are publicly available. And in those documents, it clearly states that Lori has 2 daughters, Erika and an older daughter named Tanya Segrist, born December 5th, 1969. So this isn't speculation. This is black and white legal documentation. Now, according to those same divorce files, when Lori divorced Erika's father, Kent Francevey, in 1998, Erika was living with Lori at the time, while Tanya was already emancipated. So there's a pretty big age gap and probably a very different December 5th, 1969. So this isn't speculation. This is black and white legal documentation. Now, according to those same divorce files, when Lori divorced Erika's father, Kent Francevey, in 1998, Erika was living with Lori at the time, while Tanya documentation. 5th, 1969. In those documents, it clearly states that Lori has 2 daughters. We know that for a fact because the paperwork exists. Divorce documents from Erika's mother, Lori Francie, are publicly available, and in those documents, it clearly states that Lori has 2 daughters, Erika and an older daughter named Tanya Segrist, born December 5th, 1969.
The devil in the blue dress.
This isn't speculation. This is black and white legal documentation. Now, according to those same divorce files, when Lori divorced Erika's father, Kent Francevey, in 1998, Erika was living with Lori at the time, while Tanya was already emancipated. So there's a pretty big age gap and probably a very different upbringing between the two sisters. What we don't know is who Tanya's father is. The records don't clarify that, and it's also unclear whether Lori was married before Kent or if Tanya was born from a previous relationship. Either way, here's where things take a turn, because something very interesting just surfaced. An anonymous source, someone claiming to be close to Erika's half-sister Tanya, allegedly sent a tip directly to Candace Owens. And according to this source, Tone claims Erika was never pregnant. The allegation is that she completely faked the pregnancy. Where things take a turn, because something very interesting just surfaced. An anonymous source, someone claiming to be close to Erika's half-sister Tanya, allegedly sent a tip directly to Candace Owens. And according to this source, Tone claims Erika was never pregnant. The allegation is that she completely
Has Candace
surfaced.
mentioned
An
this?
anonymous source, someone claiming to be close to Erika's half-sister Tanya, allegedly sent a tip directly to Candace Owens. And according to this source, Tone claims Erika was never pregnant. The allegation is that she completely faked the pregnancies, and that the only reason we even have that one ultrasound clip is because it was staged specifically for appearances. So let's talk about that ultrasound footage. Erika previously posted a montage reel on Instagram showing a positive pregnancy test, ultrasound footage, and hospital scenes, including her visible belly. Charlie is also seen in the footage, as well as Erika's mother, Lori. So at first glance, you'd think, okay, this settles it. That's proof. Erika was obviously pregnant. But here's the problem. Nothing else backs it up. First of all, why does the sonogram say Erika Francve and not Erika Kirk? Why would they use only her maiden name? Also notice it reads Erika Francve. But in a medical listing of names, it's always last name, then first name. So it should say Francve, belly. Charlie is also seen in the footage, as well as Erika's mother, Lori.
Oh, wow.
So at first glance, you'd think, okay, this settles it. That's proof. Erika was obviously pregnant. But here's the problem. Nothing else backs it up. First of all, why does the sonogram say Erika Francve and not Erika Kirk? Why would they use
Because they weren't
only her
married.
maiden name? Also notice it reads Erika Francve. But in a medical listing of names, it's always last name, then first name. So it should say Francve, Erika. It seems like a minor detail, but this isn't about one little thing. It's about all of it together. So let's move to the next clue. As you probably know, Candace recently spoke to a whistleblower who alleged that he saw someone who looks identical to Erika at a secret military meeting just one day before Chowry's assassination. Now, Erika herself hasn't addressed these allegations, but she sent TPUSA spokesman Andrew Colvett to try and throw people off by providing what now looks like a fake alibi. So Colvett reached out to this random YouTuber and shared a photo from September 9th of two children with their faces covered by what is supposed to be Erika's finger. And this was meant to prove that Erika was with her kids at the time that secret meeting took place at Fort Huachuca. But hold up, whose kids are those? This boy in the photo looks about 3 or 4 years old, but based on the available public record, Charlie's son is supposed to be around 19 months old, born in May 2024. So the son would have been around 16 months in the photo Erika shared. And there is simply no way the male child in that photo is 16 months, even if he's big for his age. Now look at this photo. This was about 4 months earlier at their son's first birthday. Look at the difference. Also, you
talking about busted. You talking about busted. Who is that little man? Little man.
But based on the available public record, Charlie's son is supposed to be around 19 months old, born in May 2024. So the son would have been around 16 months in the photo Erika shared. And there is simply no way the male child in that photo is 16 months, even if he's big for his age. Now look at this photo. This was about 4 months earlier at their son's first birthday. Look at the difference. Also, you might have noticed in the interviews, Erika only ever talks about daughter, and she almost never mentions the son.
The other day she was like, tell me about Daddy's day in heaven. So we talk about that at NIA. And then sometimes I'll say, well, tell me what you think he did in heaven today. And I just try to make it exciting because heaven is heaven's her home. So I just want her to know that Daddy is having so much fun and building a place for her and our family.
So whose child was that in the photo Erika shared as her alibi for September 9th? Is Erika using photos of someone else's children? And then there's also the fact that back when Charlie was still alive, Erika claimed she had C-sections for both of her kids, and she cited that as a reason why she was on the fence about having another baby.
You guys aren't done, are you?
We might have one more.
Okay.
I'm kind of torn. The only reason why I'm torn is because I had C-sections for both. So I'm like, how many more times does Charlie need to see my organs? So, I mean, we'll see.
But fast forward to now, and Erika claims she and Charlie wanted to have 4 kids. And she doesn't mention the alleged C-sections anymore.
You did get married.
Yes.
You have 2 kids.
2 precious babies.
And you told me this in private, but how many kids did you guys want to have?
We wanted to have 4. Yeah. And I was praying to God that I was pregnant when he got murdered.
So again, none of this makes sense. Charlie's marriage, those kids, Erika's pre-TPUSA life, none of it adds up. And if this is all one huge psyop, was Charlie in on it the whole time? And his marriage and kids were all fake? Because remember,
I just don't know
Charlie
how
and
a
Erika's
kid can
extravagant
never.
wedding reception at the Fairmont.
I have never seen a kid that don't turn their head around. I just don't. I just ain't never seen it. So y'all, they saying this is fake. Is that why she pulling it? Oh, look at the belly. Yeah, that's fake. What is this? That's fake. What is this right here below? Eek, child. File. Child. Fake, 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 fake. She didn't even get a good fake belly. What in the world? Child, I'll be glad when old girl get a hold of you and all your lies. Cause what is that? So you got an extra little belly button thingy below your... All of that looks fake. And I almost can see the line. Oh, Lord. These people are cray. What is wrong with these people? Oh, I know she want to just beat her up for being a part of taking out her homie. I know you do, Candace. I know you do. It's a cheap what? That's a Timu. A sheen. A shine. A sheen. What? Baby, let me end this so I can go. I'm doing good.
Adds up. And if this is all one huge psyop, was Charlie in on it the whole time? And his marriage and kids were all fake? Because remember, Charlie and Erika's extravagant wedding reception at the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess Luxury Hotel was paid for by TPUSA donors. And according to the Mirror, they also did a fundraiser for TPUSA at their wedding reception. The reception was held after the wedding ceremony so that it could align with TPUSA's 9th anniversary. So this way it could be legally expensed to TPUSA. And things like that make some people question if Charlie was in on the psyop, because if Erika was never pregnant, surely Charlie would have noticed that. Now, on the other hand, if Charlie was in on it, what would be their reason to eliminate him? There are just so many unanswered questions. And now a lot of people are starting to question the whole thing. Someone commented, 1, I don't believe she was ever pregnant. For a man who is all about getting married and having babies and then not showing anyone her pregnancy and going through that.
Yeah, I mean, because she's about...
extremely odd.
Yeah, she was about that.
Something is off here. I'm starting to wonder if this was a real marriage at all.
Yeah.
Or if it's just Erika who knew it was fake. And so many people are now saying
all
the same
just
thing.
a movie?
She is lying. Bet she never gave birth. Where did those children come from? And these people have a point. Erika and Charlie promoted having family values so much, but then she hid both of her pregnancies.
Yeah.
And now Erika is anywhere but with her.
And she hid it all. Okay, y'all. I'm finna. It was something that came up, but I think it's too long, and I'm going on 4 hours. And
freshly fatherless kids.
And she don't never have her kids. I mean, she don't ever have them. Ever. What is this about
Has been
70?
saying over and over to uncover this sex trafficking scheme, you have to follow the money. He sent a letter to the CEO of BNY Mellon, Robin Vance. Now, Robin Vance was not the CEO,
Hold on.
the ranking member of this. As Trump tries to distract us from the Epstein files by invading foreign countries and invading American streets, Senator Wyden, the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee, is keeping his focus
Oh, yeah,
on
he the one
Epstein
found that money.
and Epstein's money. My name is Dina Dahl with the Midas Touch Network. Let's get into this.
Yep, he
Now,
been
Senator
following that
Wyden's
money.
latest has some explosive new details related to Epstein's transactions. Now, as the ranking member, he has been investigating Epstein's financial transactions for 3 years. He has been saying over and over to uncover this sex trafficking scheme, you have to follow the money. He sent a letter to the CEO of BNY Mellon, Robin Vance. Now, Robin Vance was not the CEO at the time of Epstein's transactions, but now it is in his court to decide whether or not he's going to cooperate and turn over the information that Senator Wyden is asking for. Now, in this letter, there is a few revelations. One of them is a stunning list of transactions. Now, according to Senator Wyden, $20 million in 2007 were made by Epstein. Now, they were in amounts that were totaled exactly $1 million each. Essentially, Epstein sent $1 million, that exact flat number, 20 different times. And you see the dates. It goes from January to September of 2007. They go in the span almost weekly. You'll have 3 in January, 3 at the end of February and the beginning of March, again 3 in May, June. He does it in a way that seems to be like a pattern. Again, only $1 million. Now, Senator Wyden calls out how this should have been a clear flag under the Bank Secrecy Act. Banks are in charge of making sure exactly these kind of things don't happen, that people are trying to launder money or trying to send money for a criminal scheme. It is like nurses and doctors who have to flag if they believe that a patient has been abused. If a child has been abused, a teacher has to flag it. We have these kind of laws in place to protect the public. The bank here never made these reports until 2019 after Epstein was indicted, failing the basic requirements under the Bank Secrecy Act, allowing for this to continue. If only the bank had acted then. But if you see the timing of this, the different transactions, and now the senator does not call out the timing of the transaction in this letter, but I will call out the timing of the transaction in this letter, because even according to the Justice government's own summary of events of Epstein on their website, you can see how these transactions so neatly align with when he was being investigated by the Department of Justice. According to the Justice Department's own summary, Epstein was indicted in July of 2006. A draft of the non-prosecution agreement was prepared in May of 2007, and the non-prosecution agreement was signed on September 24th, 2007. Now, according to Senator Wyden, he said these court filings that are showing these transfers, the last transfer is September 26, 2007, 2 days after the non-prosecution agreement was signed. So you have July 26th, an indictment. The payments start in January 2007. The draft is in May 2007. It's signed September 24th, and the last payment is made September 26th. So you can make that as you will. As a lawyer, you could argue that timing is very suspicious, and exactly why it is so important for the bank to cooperate, for the bank to provide information as to where this transaction went. Did they ask questions at the time? Did they review it? What answers were they given by Epstein? These are all things that Senator Wyden is asking for in his letter. He's also asking for any cash transactions that were made by Epstein over $10,000. This is how you uncover whatever scheme Epstein was doing, who else was involved. Senator Wyden says, follow the money. I'm sure you've heard about Iristor and its clinical grade technology for both hair and have the Illumina face mask, which is light payments, but the fact that this bank in 2019, well after the fact that they could have helped all these particular payments, but the fact that this bank in 2019, well after the fact that they could have helped all those girls over the years, all the young women and all those girls over the years.
They weren't trying to help.
In 2019, they flagged 270 suspicious wire transfers totaling $378 million. Of course, this is just one bank, showing how much these banks basically allowed, enabled, supported the criminal enterprise that was Epstein and his co-conspirators. He also calls out in this letter the payments, the very suspicious payments made to Ghislaine Maxwell, also in that critical period of 2007. On June 15th, 2007, Epstein wired $7.4 million from one of his accounts at BNY to Maxwell's account at JPMC. Also on that same day, Maxwell transferred those same funds to an account opened under the name Air Ghislaine at JPMC. Then on June 18th, 2007, $7.3 million was transferred by Maxwell to Sikorsky Aircraft as a down payment for the purchase of a green helicopter. None of the SARS, the Bank Secrecy Act forms were filed that were intended to uncover any suspected violation of federal law, a suspected money laundering, anything having to do with a criminal enterprise. So
somebody was
again,
paid to
Wyden
turn.
doesn't specifically call out the timing of those transfers to Maxwell, but I will, because as we know, that is the critical period of time where where Epstein was negotiating his non-prosecution agreement that he thought would evidently benefit Maxwell, or at least Maxwell argued just recently to the Supreme Court, she thought it would benefit her. Both Maxwell and Epstein making some very suspicious transfers, and the bank at the time allowing it to happen by not flagging it. Senator Wyden asking the bank to cooperate, to undo the harm that they did. Not like you could actually even undo the harm to those children, but at least make it right in one way, shape, or form. Now, as we know, CEOs across the country, banks across the country, have been unwilling to stand up to Trump, but one of the workers just recently in a manufacturing plant that Trump toured did stand up to Trump. They called him a pedophile protector.
And they said he was funky.
And we saw Trump's reaction, perhaps the biggest reaction
he
has ever had to a comment anywhere, telling them to F off.
Said he was funky as hell.
It seems that Trump hates this term so much that you all know what to do with it. The pedophile protector, Trump. Take a look.
Gave him the middle. Fuck you. Your mama too.
Thankfully, Senator Wyden and others are keeping the focus on uncovering the pedophile protector Trump, and doing it in part by following the money. We'll do it here on the Midas Touch Network. Be sure to subscribe.
Okay, y'all. I'll have to go. See y'all tomorrow. Fresh shit. Fresh pile of shit. Yo, funky face, funky. Just funky. I'm gonna funk you right up. He in there singing the funky song. How funky is he? How funky was he? They said the whole full of
Niggas still
what
hanging
is it?
around. We don't
Full
see too many black granddaddies. Come on, man. Shout out to all the black old niggas, man.
What done happened? How
60
he?
years old, man.
Hold up. What just happened? It just moved on its own. All at the Ford assembly plant. It said they thought they was at the shitty plant. I was trying to go to the top to see. Old skull popped up. Let me see something. Before I go. Ransk and drop update. Let me see.
I'm joined now by Congressman Jamie Raskin. Congressman, thanks for joining me again.
I'm really psyched to be with you, Brian.
So there is an update here as far as the Epstein files are concerned. We have a new update from the House. Can you explain what that is?
Well, we had a number of women survivors who came to us with information about how Epstein had promised them when they were minors that he would arrange for them to be admitted into NYU or Columbia and would pay for their tuition. And he used that very much as part of his recruitment and grooming mechanism. And so I've written letters to NYU and to Columbia simply demanding that they give us all the information that they've got. And we know that these are not the only schools that he potentially used in this way, and he maintained very cozy relationships with a lot of colleges and universities. Everybody knows about Larry Summers and Harvard and MIT. But these were not just places where he could kind of sanitize his image, but also places that he could use as part of his recruitment of young women.
With them fake attorneys that Trump be using.
Entree to his world.
As far as you're aware, was anybody else involved in all of this? Were there other people that were participants? I guess really what I'm getting at here is this idea that we had members of the DOJ or the FBI come out and say that nobody else was involved, that apparently Jeffrey Epstein just trafficked 1,000 girls for himself. And so does this give any insight into somebody else's involvement, in this scheme, possibly at NYU, at Columbia?
Well, we know that that is false. We know that there were many other people of necessity involved in this situation, but several survivors told us that their college tuition, their bureaucratic paperwork, and their expenses were personally arranged by Epstein associates Darren Indyke and Richard Kahn, who were a longtime Epstein lawyer and accountant, and who are now the co-executors of his estate. So Epstein was the schmoozer who maintained the relationships with all of the various dignitaries and deans and professors and so on. But of course, he had a bureaucracy to follow through on the various deals he was able to make for people.
So why? I mean, this is, I guess, an oversimplistic question, but if you know that there are already other people involved in this whole scheme, then how does Trump's DOJ come off by holding these press conferences and saying that they have no idea of anybody else who is involved? How do you have information that Trump's own DOJ with full access to the Epstein files doesn't have?
Well, and this has been the problem from the beginning with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, who've tried to assure us there's nothing to see here.
And Dan Bongino did as well.
They said that we've been through all the documents and there are no other crimes indicated. Of course, later they said they didn't know what was in the documents, and remember, they just found an additional 1 million documents that mysteriously appeared. And
probably some other people too.
So, I mean, we can't take anything they're saying seriously. They are in full cover-up mode. Trump, who campaigned saying that all of this should be made public, is now doing everything he can to prevent the information from going public and to trying to sweep everything under the rug. So you're right. It's so obvious. You don't run $1 billion plus global sex trafficking ring of young women, including procuring spots in college classes at some of the fanciest colleges and universities in America with one person. That's not a one-person operation. I mean, it takes a whole bureaucracy of complicity to make something like that happen.
Well, kind of to that point, there is some big news that Pam Bondi is scheduled to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee. That's on February 11th. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so, what do you hope to accomplish when she comes and testifies before the
A bunch of bull crap.
Well, of course, you know, we could have a week-long hearing. With
Yeah, I gotta go.
Each of us will be
What time?
limited
It's
under
10:30.
the
I gotta go, y'all.
to 5 minutes of questioning. We